Right. So, anyone has any questions on the last week?
No, I think so far I don't have. I think we're still figuring out
You're trying to
everything.
understand everything, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. What I plan to do for today, there's a particular task which I want to feature as the beginning of this session, plus use it as a sort of exercise to challenge you all to see how much you've understood so far. Then there is this piece of the knowledge which I want to cover in detail. Is implied in the, well, I think it's mentioned in the list of two of the list of commands I sent to you all, which is like what I describe as key sequences. So I'll cover that. I think I will do a bit of settings, JAWS and NVIDIA settings, particularly things to set for reading behavior of these two things. Offhand, I'm thinking it'll take 1 hour, but I sort of suspect it'll take longer. Then the rest, actually, I should have sent you some more list of keyboard commands, but yeah, haven't gotten around to it. So after I'm done with those, I will probably do Excel. I might do PowerPoint and email. And then for email, I plan to do Outlook and Gmail. So Outlook is the app, and Gmail is the web interface. That I suspect will cover up to 3 hours. Okay, so so first off, right, there's this one task which I always teach my students, and that is how to remove your thumb drive safely. Right, so anyone cares to try and describe how you would describe the steps to a visually impaired screen reader user? Okay, no, I guess means no. Huh? So basically, I imagine you all do use this safely remove feature, right, for yourselves when you want to take out thumb drives.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you do it? Click on the thing at the bottom, click on that thing that says safely remove, then click eject.
Yeah.
Okay, glad to know I got it right. So if you want to translate this, so once again, translation exercise, how to translate a cited way of doing a task to a keyboard command screen reader user method of doing a task. So the salient points of the task are: 1, go to the bottom right, which is called the notification area. 2, identify the safely remove icon and bring up the menu. And 3, select the eject, whatever media it is, right? So once you identify the salient steps, next is to translate it to keyboard commands. So first, go to notification area. So the keyboard command to go to notification area is Windows B for boy. So once you hear that, oh, I think I better share screen.
New closed open participants panel 14 participants alt plus U button meeting controls.
Y'all can hear the sound, right?
Mute currently unmuted alt plus A button. Stop share left arrow plus right arrow button.
Okay, so like I was saying, Windows B.
Alt B.
Oops. Okay.
Windows B menus notification chevron button to activate press space bar show hidden icons.
And you'll say notification chevron. Basically, you're sitting on that thing that looks like a rightward pointing arrow or whatever pointing arrow, right? So to select this, right, you will click with the mouse, right? So I was saying in the last session, you can sort of imagine single click to map to the space bar. So I press space, and that thing pops up, which shows you a list of the hidden icons. So from here, I was telling you all from the last session, to move around within a fixed space is usually the arrow keys. So in this case, we'll just use the up arrow.
Toolbar NVIDIA settings button to activate press space bar.
NVIDIA.
Toolbar Bluetooth devices button.
Bluetooth devices.
Toolbar Microsoft Teams new activity button.
Microsoft Teams.
Toolbar Microsoft Outlook button.
Microsoft Outlook.
Toolbar Zoom button. Toolbar Research Center button. Toolbar Intel Register Rapid Source Technology. Toolbar Windows Security Actions Recommended button. Toolbar GeForce GTX 1050 left parent and active right there. Toolbar Intel Register Graphics Settings button. Action Center 18 notifications button. Activate. Press spacebar.
Oops.
System clock 9:12 a.m. 18/12/2021
Okay,
clock.
so
Saturday,
in
18
this
December
case,
2021.
I just realized I didn't stick in a thumb drive. Okay, let me see.
Escape.
I'll stick in
System
a
clock
thumb
9:13 a.m.
drive.
18/12/2021 clock.
Right, so we have a thumb drive in. So let's do that again. So Windows
Windows
key
toolbar Intel register graphics settings button. Activate. Press spacebar.
and go up.
Action Center 19 notifications button. System clock 9:13 a.m. 18 Trade input indicator. English left parent Singapore right parent button. Activate. Press spacebar. English left parent Singapore right parent.
And by the way, that's another way to check the time if you forget the keyboard command to announce time.
System clock 9:13 a.m. 18/12/2021 clock.
9,
Saturday, 18 December
13,
2021.
18, 12, 2021.
System trace speaker cold 40% button. Activate. Press spacebar.
Yes,
CABCLP underline 5G internet access button.
Wi-Fi
Full
network.
charge left parent 100% right parent button.
Battery
Upgrade Windows
level.
11 ready for your PC button. Two apps are using your microphone button.
Announcement of updates, announcement that PC is using a microphone.
Dropbox 136.4.4 OneDrive dash personal update button. OneDrive dash personal update button.
OneDrive.
Button. Notification chevron button. Activate. Press
Okay,
spacebar.
so since we're doing this, just to illustrate, because this is all counted one space, so moving the arrows moves around within the space. So we're back to the chevron, press spacebar.
Action Center 19 notifications button. System clock 9:13 a.m. 18/12/2021. Trade input indicator. English left parent Singapore. System trace speaker cold 40% button.
Okay,
CABCLP
so
underline 5G
there is
internet.
sometimes this issue with notification area may not always detect, or maybe I accidentally hit the
Full charge left parent 1 upgrade Windows. Two apps are using your microphone button. Dropbox 136 OneDrive dash personal update button.
Okay, arrow
Email
back to
button.
the
Notification
chevron.
chevron button. Space. Toolbar NDIDIA settings button. Activate. Toolbar move to devices button.
Okay, so
Toolbar Microsoft Teams national activity button. Toolbar Microsoft Outlook button. Toolbar Zoom button. Toolbar safely remove hardware and eject media button.
And safely remove and eject media. Okay, so the arrow part is the part that you all won't have to go through because you're using a mouse. So that part sort of get used to like automatically injecting this extra step about using navigation commands to get to where you want to go. So once you're on the safely remove icon, so once again, you do single click, so we can use spacebar.
Context menu to navigate. Press up or down arrow. Open devices and printers.
And it announces the menu. So like I was telling you, when you describe the steps to a screen reader user, you have to tell them that the menu will pop up. So the way to navigate menu, again, use arrow keys.
Detect open USB 3.0.
And it says eject whatever. So we're already there. So once again, the way you describe the step is you highlight to them when to stop your navigation. So navigate until you hear safely remove. So stop at safely remove. Press spacebar to activate it. Then the menu comes up. Highlight to them that the menu will come up. Tell them to use arrow keys to navigate down to the option you want and stop at the option you want called eject. And in this case, you have to press enter. So a bit of difference between what you would normally do because yours is a single click. But yeah, you can sort of think of sometimes you can use spacebar still, but yeah, I guess never tried. I sort of don't want to make a fool of myself if it doesn't work. So I'll just use whatever works. And I always know that at the enter works here.
Enter.
Oh, and there's no notification. Okay, you should. So what happens is after the command, you should be hearing for an outcome, right? So the outcome is actually supposed to be an announcement that is now safe to remove, which very strangely is not happening on this computer. So let me see whether I can check.
Windows leaving menus. Clear all notifications button. Activate. Press space. List box. Notifications from Microsoft Edge. Committee of Facebook. Voice notifications from Outlook. Sean Quick. Parent. Action. Loyal ID. Real fun. Windows tape menu. Notifications. Stop share left parent plus right parent button.
Okay, so as is always likely to happen when you're teaching somebody, something unexpected will happen, which is where the foundation will come in. So given that you're not sure what happened, so the other obvious thing to do is check again, see whether safely remove is
Windows
gone.
leaving menus. Notification chevron button. Activate. Press space. Space. Toolbar NDIDIA settings. Toolbar move to devices button. Toolbar Microsoft Teams. Toolbar Microsoft Outlook button. Toolbar Zoom button. Toolbar Razor Care Center button. Toolbar Intel Register Rapid Sort. Toolbar Windows Security Dash Action. Toolbar GeForce GTX. Toolbar Intel Register Action Center. No. System clock 9:16 a.m. Trade input indicator. System trace speaker cold 40%. CABCLP under. Full charge left parent 1. Upgrade Windows 11 ready for you. Two apps are using your microphone. Dropbox 136. OneDrive dash personal update button. Use now button. Notification chevron button. Activate. Press spacebar.
I've moved through a full cycle and the safely remove icon isn't there anymore. So you have to trust that means that the media is now recognized by the computer as ejected. And we can put it out. Fortunately, this is not a good example because the outcome is not standard. But anyway, hopefully you all get the idea already. Okay, so this is one of the tasks I teach. So the other stuff I think I would have covered already in last week, right? So basic navigation, you always teach them the Windows key, the start menu. You should teach them how to use the ribbon, so the Alt key. Nowadays, people don't have anything else except ribbon. There is one case I can show you later, which is like related to that other part I'm supposed to teach you. And using the application key or the Shift F10 to get the context menu. So we want to teach them these concepts. Ideally, you should teach them the concept of menu versus window versus dialog box, which I do sometimes. But again, depending on the level of ability of the student to comprehend, you might just stick to whatever is really most essential if they are not that good at grasping abstract concepts. Then you want to highlight to them. Okay, you may want to highlight to them for the purpose of improving the efficiency, right? This underline letter thing, which I mentioned in the last session, right? You can move through menu items by pressing single letters. Sometimes it's the first letter of the option, and other times there's an underline letter, which if you move through it the long-winded way with the arrow keys the first time round, the software usually will tell you what's the underline letter after reading the option. So for example, say eject J. Then there's another one which is the alternate plus underline letter. So good for dialog boxes, for jumping to particular parts of a window. Sometimes they have that. Yeah. So again, these are for improving efficiency, which my understanding of your target audience, they should be the group which needs to improve their efficiency as far as possible. Okay, and some other general keyboard commands like Alt F4 to close window, Alt Tab to jump between windows, and the sort. Okay, so that's for that. Okay, the next section that I want to talk about is keyboard sequences. Right, first we will go back to
Media controls to move line request. Recall the JVH screen dash message left there. Set items dash click with the tab bar. Word useful keyboard sequences from 2003. Dash compatibility mode dash word.
right. So
Word useful keyboard.
to help you all reinforce you, I expect you all to be thinking to yourself, what command is he pressing when this is happening, that is happening, right? So to help yourself, always revise all those keyboard commands. And if you realize you don't really remember what's the command, go back and look through that list of commands I was focusing on last session. Okay, so Microsoft Word.
Title is word useful keyboard sequences from 2003. Dash compatibility mode dash word. Print 2.
Okay, this keyboard command, I think I didn't mention last session. I'll probably mention that later when I go through the JAWS and NVD settings. Or maybe I did. Oh, whatever. Okay, so
Word useful keyboard sequences. Blank. Using Microsoft Word 2003 loader, you can select various options from the menu.
okay, so this point here. Okay, let me first start by talking about current or the so-called newer versions of Microsoft Office, which is I understand based on my understanding of your age. So you all were probably using computers, even if you use at 5 years old. I think that still puts you at the point in time when Microsoft Office had already switched to the so-called newer interface. We're talking about basically Microsoft Office 2007 and later, right? So that's the layout we have here on screen. You all can still see the share screen, right? Okay, so like I was already telling you, right? So the new interface is basically this idea of a ribbon. So ribbon refers to this top part of the window here. And the ribbon is divided into upper ribbon and lower ribbon. So the upper ribbon is that thing with those few keywords, the home, the page layout, the view, and what other things you have. And all the fancy icons below that are your lower ribbon, right? So so I briefly touched on this already. So if you want to get to ribbon, you press alternate key.
Upper ribbon, home tab, followed by H.
And they always go up to the top. What I'm told is there will be a letter which will pop up between each main word. So like beside home, the little H will pop up, and
insert tab, followed by N.
Insert a letter N will pop up, so that if you are not exactly following what the screen reader says, you should still be able to see something and know what's the letter to tell the screen reader user to use. Can someone verify that there is a letter beside each of these words? Home.
Draw tab, followed by JI. Draw tab, followed by JI.
Draw.
Design tab.
Design.
Layout tab, followed by P.
Layout. Do you see a letter beside each option? Or more than one letter?
It was there just
Sorry?
it was there just now, but it's not there
Design tab,
anymore.
followed by P. Draw tab, followed by JI. Insert tab, followed by N.
Now
How
it's
about
just like a box surrounding the word. So it's like
Okay.
insert, yeah, has a box
Ah,
around.
okay.
Windows of arrow.
So
Upper ribbon, insert tab,
like
alt, follow
this.
by N.
Will you see letters now?
Yeah, now we can see.
Okay, but that's only for the top, right? What about the bottom? These things at the down.
Bottom, there's nothing below.
Okay.
Menu, cover page, submenu, your document will make a quick first impression with a stylish cover page. Make it your own by clicking the font and color options on the design tab, alt followed by NP.
How about this now? Still nothing.
So I think the lower ribbon, right? You have to press like for example, if you want to go home, you have to press alternate H, then the below will appear.
You mean it didn't appear?
Leaving menus, insert tab, alt followed by N. Menu, cover page, submenu, your document will make a quick first impression with a stylish cover page. Make it your own by clicking the font and color options on the design tab. Blank page button, alt followed by N, NP. Page break button, control plus return.
You're not seeing anything here?
No.
That's strange because it's reading the options to me already. Like.
Yeah, it's supposed to have it.
Escape, leaving menus, leaving ribbons, edit. Escape. Upper ribbon, insert tab, alt followed by N. Enter, leaving menus, leaving ribbons, edit.
How about this? Do you know?
3.82 centimeters.
Oops.
No, don't have.
Very interesting.
Blank.
Control
F1.
What is the difference between this and now?
Now
See?
the icons
The
at the lower
ribbon is
ribbon.
gone.
Control F1.
Yes.
Okay. So
3.82 centimeters.
oops.
Upper ribbon, insert tab, alt followed. Menu, cover page, submenu, your document will make a quick first impression with a stylish cover page. Make it your own
You
by clicking the font and
basically
color
this
options on the design tab,
thing,
alt followed by
for example, you can see this thing which says cover page, right? This cover page is actually the lower ribbon already. Right. So the fact that I'm in here, you can see that the cover page, there's a rectangle around it, right? But there's no letter popping up, which sort of suggests, I guess, there's a limit to how much the letters pop up. Okay, so if that's the case, you will have to practice using your ears like all the rest, right?
Escape, leaving menus, leaving ribbons, edit. Escape.
So for your benefit,
Select the voice profile, E element, left factor, enter.
slow it down.
Microsoft Word document.
Okay, so
Upper ribbon, insert tab, alt followed by N.
so you will hear it, right? So I'm on the insert tab. So that's the upper ribbon. So when they announce insert, they will also announce alt followed by N. So it tells you press alt N to get there. Okay, so alt N can be done as alternate, let go, N, let go. Or it can be done as alt N together, like how you press alternate tab or alternate F4.
Draw tab,
You
alt
can also
followed by
use left and
JI.
right arrow to move to the.
Display out tab.
This is
Draw
basically the
tab,
upper
alt,
ribbon.
leaving menus, upper ribbon, home tab, alt,
Then you can go down like I was telling you.
home, clipboard,
think.
paste split button, alt
You either go
followed by H,
down
V.
or sometimes either you go down or sometimes you have to press tab straight away or sometimes you press enter, then you can do tab. Right. So a bit of trial and error, but Microsoft Word, I think it probably safe to say they will usually work out, right? Left and right between the ribbon and go down. Okay, so once you are here, you want to jump through all the options, you should be using tab.
Cut button unavailable, copy button unavailable,
We'll
format
just quickly
page,
run
off,
through.
font,
You can
font,
see that
pro,
this
font, shrink,
the rectangle is jumping through all the options one by
clear
one.
for character, bold, italic button.
Okay, so like I was saying for the last one, yeah, you moving around with space, actually you can use arrow keys, right? But the thing about the lower ribbon is it consists of icons which are not regularly shaped or sized. So if you were to use your arrow keys, you can't be guaranteed that you will really move through all the icons with just the arrow keys. It's a little bit like how on the desktop icon, on the desktop, a lot of the icons sometimes at least in some computers, they are arranged so that there are gaps. So if you want to use arrow keys to move through all the icons, might not be very thorough. So for the case of low ribbon, when you're hunting for something, you sort of still have to go through all the icons. So my recommendation to teach the students is always use tab once in the lower ribbon if you're hunting for something. If you know what's the option you want, so let's show you.
Underline, split, strike through, subscript, strike through button not checked, alt followed by H4.
Okay, so if you have a function in your lower ribbon which you use often, you will take note of what the screen reader says after it reads the option. So like for example,
Strike through button not checked. Alt followed by H4.
So you hear this strike through, it says all the strike through thing, then Alt H4. And Alt followed by H4. This means that if you press Alt, then H, then 4, you will apply the strike through formatting to wherever you are. Right. So this is my recommendation to you again. So when you're teaching somebody and you notice that they may have to do a particular task very frequently, you will want to teach them and try and get them to remember the keyboard sequence. So this is already keyboard sequence, right? So keyboard sequence or key sequence, keystroke sequence, key sequence, yeah. It's not a old Microsoft Office, new Microsoft Office thing. This is a general concept. Just say there's something else to do with the old and new thing. Okay, so if you're teaching somebody using the new Office, you find there's a particular part of a ribbon somewhere that they often have to revisit and reuse and use on a frequent basis, you can teach them to remember the sequence, right? So that's an illustration.
Subscript button not font. 1, 10, 10. Escape. Leaving
Okay.
menus.
Right. So
Escape.
what I showed you just now is Alt
Upper ribbon. Home tab. Alt followed by
and
H.
down arrow
Home.
and tap,
Office
right?
clipboard dot escape.
So
Escape.
here's the other example. If you press Alt H together,
Alt H. Upper ribbon. Home tab. Alt followed by H.
so it works as Alt H as well.
Home clipboard.
And you can tap through the option.
Font size edit combo collapse. Escape.
Similarly,
Edit.
if you want to choose the insert option, you can do Alt
Alt
N.
N. Upper ribbon. Insert tab. Alt followed by N.
Then
Menu.
tap through
Cover.
option.
Blank page.
Okay, in this case, it looks like I tap straight away from the upper ribbon to the lower ribbon. So as compared to arrow down. So I guess I teach arrow down more like a safety precaution. Probably to me, it usually is safer if you do go to upper ribbon and go down into lower ribbon, then you start tabbing. Yeah, so there is a bit of inconsistency, I guess. I'm not sure whether it's due to my part or just the way the Windows works in general, but so you all can sort of be a bit alert to these possible inconsistencies in how things work. So it's quite important for you yourselves as teachers to pay attention to how the screen reader is behaving at the same time they're teaching them, because once in a while, for some strange reason, someone's computer may act just a little bit differently from the others. Yeah, the mysteries of technology. So y'all take note. Okay, so sequences.
Escape. Leaving menus. Leaving ribbons. Escape.
Okay, the I think I showed you that thing about changing the way icons are arranged in the file explorer the last session, right? So that is another example of key sequence. So you want to change it to sort by date, for example. You do Alt H O, I think. No, Alt V O. Right. So that's another example of keyboard sequence. Okay, so that's first remarks on keyboard sequence. So now I go to this thing about old and new, right? So for Microsoft Office 2003 and older, you will not have the ribbon, right? Instead, you'll have the menu bar, which I mentioned at I think near the beginning of last week's session. So menu bar is nowadays in the new Windows, you hardly have any examples of that. But fortunately for us, we have JAWS, which is still the old interface.
JAWS Professional.
Okay, so
Windows D. Folder view list view.
So insert J.
JAWS Professional.
Okay, so this is the JAWS dialog box up there in the top left. So it is yes. So you will see at the top. Yeah, correct. You see the words option, utilities, and so on. And you will notice like, wait, let me check.
Menu bar options to navigate. Press left or right arrow. O.
Yeah. So you will notice
Escape. Leaving menu bar.
Options O is underlined, utilities U is underlined, and so on. So that is an example of a place where you still have the menu bar. So in Microsoft Office 2003 and older, the top of the window basically looks like that thin little line there with the options and the utilities and things like that. I said that it's not options lah. So the first one will be file, next to it is usually edit, and beside that is view, and there's some other things. and each word has the underlined letter. So this is somewhat similar to the upper ribbon in the sense that there is a single letter which you can use to activate the option. If I press alternate O, I open options. If I press alternate U,
Alt U, menu, utilities menu, voice
utilities.
assistant sub,
And
JAWS tandem sub menu T.
so this is menu bar. So it's really, as the name suggests, menu, a bar showing a list of menus. So each time you choose a menu, there's this very straightforward single column menu, which really screen reader users prefer because you can really arrow down.
Screen, synth, sound setting, keyboard, dict, frame, script, navigate, read, import, convene, pitch, braille, voices, JAWS, screen synthesizer,
and you go through all the options in the menu as opposed to that lower ribbon where you have to try and figure out what to do. So when the new ribbon first came out, a lot of screen reader users were like really complaining because they're so used to using down arrows. If you're in the old ribbon, new ribbon, let's go back to the new
escape,
one,
leave temp tutorial material to move to an item, JAWS preferred useful keyboards,
which I think I already show you. So if I do
upper
alternate,
ribbon, insert tab, alt
I go down.
menu, cover page, sub.
That's all. This is really extreme because in this case, the insert lower ribbon has only one row of icons.
Blank page button, page break button, menu, page.
So you can't go anywhere by pressing down arrow. Slightly different
Escape,
option.
leaving menus,
so
leaving alt H, upper ribbon, home, clipboard,
can,
paste, office.
So alt H, you can still go down. You can go right.
Font, paragraph, styles, leaving menus, collapse the ribbon button, not check, upper ribbon, homes, paragraph, font, menu, text effects and shrink font button,
But you know,
leaving menu.
if you use up, down, left, right, you are not sure you cover everything.
Escape, edit, Windows D, folder view, list view, not selected, recycle bin, 1 of 31.
Once
To
again,
move
just go back
JAWS
to this
profession.
point. So the old Microsoft Office is easier for many, at least the older generation screen readers users to use. Granted, your teaching audience are probably the people who also have never seen menu bars. But yeah, so just to sort of reiterate this point before I go into the old sequences thing. So with a menu bar kind of layout, you do alternate
Menu
still.
bar,
you have all these menus which you can choose.
Language, help, H.
Right, so for example, H, help. Right, then you can still go down arrow.
Menu, training, JAWS, keyboard, what's new, W.
You go through all the options you want.
Technical support, S, web resources, sub-menu, R.
Okay, and when there's a sub-menu, so you can do a right arrow to open
JAWS
the sub-menu.
headquarters, J.
I think I mentioned in the last section, right? So when there's a sub-menu thing, you can either right arrow or press enter. So this is menus again. So just to reiterate, right? The basic concept of menu versus window versus dialog box is useful for people who actually can become more effective if they have a good conceptual grounding, which unfortunately usually is not the case for a lot of our screen reader users. So if you can build this foundation in your students, it's actually probably better in the long run.
Web resource about just startup wizard escape menu
then
bar.
The other thing is you can still use like alternate
Alt H, menu, help menu, command, search, insert plus space, J.
And yeah, so I was also saying, right, each menu option there's a letter, so it just say whatever J, right?
Check for updates license sub fs startup about JAWS A.
Right, about JAWS A. So it means that if you choose A, you go straight into this option.
Escape.
So just to prove my point again, so Alt H, A.
Leaving menus about JAWS dialog, JAWS job access with.
And you notice Alt H A, you don't even need to press enter because it's only one option there which corresponds to the A. Okay, which must add in. For this menu display, sometimes you have more than one option which has a letter assigned, the same letter assigned to it. So you might have to like press that letter a few times. But in this case, it's not the case, right? So this is again another tip. When you want to check information on a program, at least for the old layout, very common is do Alt H, then A. Then it'll tell you about the software, and you have this thing here, like what you see here for JAWS. Okay, then again, right, general, if I tap through the different options here is tab.
Block and code : read only edit. Use your reading keys to read the text.
And then this is a space that is on its own, so you use arrow to read.
Authorized using the local JAWS ILM. Authorized tandem direct code remote at tandem room upgrade software maintenance
I'm
agreement.
moving around
Upper
arrow
off
keys.
else J double S
Can still
L
do
I
left and right
S
and all
I
those
T
things.
blank.
Okay,
Escape.
so yeah. Right, so finally back to the main point of the word sequences.
M2 word useful keyboard sequence.
Okay,
Window.
for those who have read this document already, when you have an old version of Microsoft Word, right, the menu bar, like I was mentioning just now, you will have things like File, Edit, View, Tools, and Formats, right? So if you were to try and activate the File menu, it's alternate F. If you want to choose the Edit menu, it's alternate E. You want to change the View menu, it's alternate V. You want to change the Tools menu, it's alternate T. You want to choose the Format menu. If you want to choose the Format menu, is O, right? Alt O as compared to Alt F, because F has already been assigned to the File menu, right? So these are useful because these are actually quite easy to remember. So if you know that something is a tool and you want to go to the Tools menu to find it, it's just Alt T, right? If you want to change your view, it's Alt V because V for view. Right, so that's why I talk about this, because it can be easier to remember the sequences for the old style menu, right? So like what this document has mentioned, although we're all in the new world now, so all the Office are the new displays, you can still press keyboard sequences from the old versions. You won't see anything happen when you're pressing them, but the Office still behaves as if you were pressing them in the old menu, which is really helpful for especially the older generation. They probably would have memorized a lot of the sequences from there. So so this is why I start talking to you about this. So you can use keyboard sequences from the old Microsoft Word.
Pressing a sequence
So like
signal
for
to use the
example
blank.
here.
Below are some such keystroke useful tasks in blank. Change the zoom level left parent.
Okay, so Alt V. So the zoom level is a view option. So Alt V, and then Z for zoom. So really very easy to remember. Alt V zoom because view and zoom. And when you do Alt V zoom,
Alt V upper ribbon. Z leaving menus, leaving ribbons. Page width radio
then
button
you have this
checked.
dialog box. Right, so I was also mentioning in this document, right? The optimal zoom level for people who are still partially sighted is the text width.
T text width radio button checked. To change the selection, press up.
So once again, basic idea, the text width option T is underlined, so you can press T. Strictly speaking, it's Alt T, but down here you can get by without pressing Alt, except for the part where you're trying to choose
%: edit combo.
so even choosing if you want to type in your customer zoom level, you can also just press E straight away. But having said that, once you do that,
S GT.
right, once you do that, you're inside the edit box and whatever you type will come out. So you can't like switch to go into text view unless you do Alt T this time.
Alt T text width radio button checked. To change the selection, press up or down arrow. Alt plus T enter. Print view edit.
Right, so you zoom in the page for people who still want to see. And this is my recommendation, because if you zoom bigger than that, you can't see the whole width. Then you have to scroll left, scroll right, which actually can be disorientating to some people. Right? What else?
Recommended.
The other thing that's very useful to me is the word count. So word count is a tool. So Alt T.
Alt T upper
and
ribbon.
word count W for word
W
count.
leaving menus, leaving ribbons. Edit word count dialog. Statistics.
So I like it so much, I never got around to learning the new keyboard sequence in the new layout. So if you can't remember this, which will be a bit amazing to me, and you still have to teach your student how to use the new layout to find word count, you will have to do like find the upper ribbon, then go down and tap through all the options until you finally get word counting. Then you take note of the keyboard sequence and tell your student to remember the sequence, right?
Escape, edit, line semicolon, other keys you can press that you can see zoom level you blank, word count, alt and blank, spell check.
Spell check.
Alt and T, then S semicolon, you can also press F7 semicolon.
But speaking of spell check, I will tell people for screen reader users, it's easier to use another variation, which is Alt F7 instead of F7 or that spell check.
Be very easy to work with for screen reader users. So another option is to press Alt plus F7, then you will be taken to the next spelling error within the document, and the context menu will automatically.
So another tip to teach to you guys, right? If you want to teach somebody spell check, teach them Alt F7 instead of F7. It'll be different from what you all used to, I think, because you all will also use that spelling check dialog box there.
Appear with suggestions for correction.
I think this is easier to operate for screen reader users, Alt F7, right?
Blank. Font settings.
So font is under format, so Alt O, then F if you want. But honestly, for myself, I don't use this. I use Control Shift F, which will directly bring up the font dialog box. So once again, Alt O F is if you find it easier to remember format and font. Yeah.
Alt then O then F, then the font dialog box will appear and change font type or to the font size.
And I already done that thing about how Alt S will go to size and whatever else you have there.
Page 2. On the other hand, you can press misspelled Control plus Shift plus F to open
so I
the
mentioned
font
Control
dialog
Shift F.
box to have the tab to the font edit box to press misspelled Control plus Shift plus P to go directly to the font size.
Yeah, here's another tip. If you, for some strange reason, they actually have special commands to jump to particular parts of the font dialog box. So Control Shift P. I usually try to remember Control Shift P as in P for points. So the points, how many points font. A bit, I think it's a bit corny, but I think it works for me. So if you do find it necessary to teach your student how to jump specifically and directly to the font size adjustment in the font settings, you can teach them Control Shift P.
Blank tables.
Tables is a thing which I think might be a bit unusual to all, right? So you already have T for tools, so the table menu. So in Microsoft Word, the old version, there's a tables menu. So T has already been taken out for tools. So Alt A for table menu. But I especially feature the table menu because there are a lot of things here which are easier to do if you use the table menu keyboard sequences.
Insert many columns and rows you want below your.
So if, for example, you want to insert a new table into the document, you have to alternate A to choose the table menu, then insert table, right? So IP, right? So to me, I strongly recommend this because it seems to me very easy to remember the command sequences, right?
Insert a column to insert a column on the right of your current column.
Right, so insert column, insert row, right? So all are insert. So Alt A, I, then something. Then if you want to insert column to your left, is L for left. Insert column to your right is R for right. And you don't have to worry that it will mix up column and row because you don't have a row on your left or right because row is up down concept and column is a left right concept. So once you choose, remember Alt A, I, then is L, R, A, B, right? Above and below. So all to me very easy to remember. So which is why I especially feature this.
Select press Alt then A then C then.
Okay, Alt A, C. So A for tables, C for select. Can't tell you why it should be C. Probably because E already chosen for something. But to me, somehow intuitively, the C connects with me for select. So I have no problem with that. But if you all find that it's an issue, then yeah, you might want to go around choosing the new layout again.
Select the whole row or either select the whole cell. Blank. Insert picture Alt then I then P then F.
Now insert picture. So insert picture file. So IPF. So once again, all these are very straightforward. So alternate I for insert. So I suspect it's because I has been taken up by the old version of Office, which is why in the new layout is Alt N instead of Alt I. Right? So in an attempt to accommodate all the old sequences in the new.
You want to insert blank. Insert symbol Alt then I then S then.
Right. So again, insert symbol Alt I S for symbol. Very straightforward and easy to remember.
One semicolon sequence will depend on whether you can see.
Although the symbol thing is not so straightforward because once you call out the list of symbols, the software doesn't always read all the symbols. But yeah, so it's maybe not entirely useful. But we'll see
Read
how.
the symbols to you. Blank.
I think sometime okay, haven't used this honestly for a long time. Probably the new layout, the screen readers will describe the symbol to you. Okay, hope.
Note blank to help you
So this is all I have for these word sequences. When I go through Excel, I'll probably talk about the key sequences for Excel as well. Let me see.
9:47 a.m.
Okay, so we have a bit of time to do JAWS setting.
Alt F4, Microsoft Word, save button to activate, press space bar.
Sorry, can I check something?
Yep.
Just now when you mentioned alternate VO, right? What was that?
That was
keyboard.
for File Explorer.
File Explorer.
So Okay lah. I also a bit can't remember whether it's really LVO. Is in the when I was challenging y'all how to change the file explorer to show your icons according to name or date, right?
Mm.
So I think it's LVO.
Escape,
Let's
edit,
double
page
confirm.
2.
I also don't remember.
Windows E. This
So
PC.
Windows E will call out the file explorer.
Download
Mm.
3D objects. 1
So
of
now
9.
let's do
Date
Alt
Alt V. Upper
V,
ribbon.
OS,
O. Lower ribbon. Name checked. 1 of
Okay, so Alt VO, it jumps to the view ribbon and then goes to the sort, I think. Sort by, right? The option in the lower ribbon for view. And then you have all these things.
total free
Whether
space.
you want to choose sort by name or date or
File
whatever.
system checked. 5 of 8.
And
Alt
once you choose
followed by
already,
V,
the
O.
icons will rearrange themselves according to the sorting criteria. Right, so this is File Explorer. This is not related to Word. I was citing these examples to try and get y'all to remember what we were doing the last session.
Escape. Escape. Ribbon tabs. Tab.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So
Alt
F4,
F4.
close
Page
the File
2. Leaving
Explorer,
menus. Leaving ribbons. Word useful keyboard seat.
and we're back in the Word, and Alt F4 to close
Alt
Word.
F4. Microsoft Word. Save button.
Ask you whether to save because I happen to accidentally tap things around. So once again, right? Don't save or no. N is underlined. So Alt
Alt
N.
N. JAWS Professional.
Okay, so let's do a little bit of
Windows
things which always seem to tickle people when I do a demonstration for them. So for JAWS, you can set how fast it talks, right? So you can do adjustment of how fast it speaks on 2 or 3 different ways. So one is using keyboard sequence, keyboard commands. So to increase your or decrease your speaking rate for JAWS is Alt Control page up, page down. So now if you want, you'll be jumping to that file which I sent you, which says JAWS and NVDA keystrokes or something like that. So if you want to adjust how fast it speaks, it's alternate control page up or page down. So page up is increase, page down is slow down. So
faster.
and it says faster when you pressing that.
Faster.
Right, so
FSB 3.0, 2 of 30, downloads, 3 of 30, NVDA, 4, Internet Explorer, 5 of 31. Finds and displays information on websites on the internet.
Alt Control page down will slow it down.
Slower. NVDA. Slower. Downloads. 3 of 31.
Unusually, it's not very slow.
Slower. NVDA. 4 of 31.
Okay, so this kind of keyboard command is only a temporary adjustment of the speaking rate. If I were to go somewhere else,
Camera on. Escape menu. Stop share left parent alt plus S right parent button.
right, you notice the speaking rate just
Windows
changes.
D. Leaving menus. Folder view list view. NVDA 4 of 30.
Okay, on the other hand, you can permanently change the speaking rate with keyboard commands as well. So why do you want a temporary change as compared to permanently change? Sometimes you just want it to read a bit slower or a bit faster. For example, when you're reading web page or Word document. But once you're done already, you want to go back to the most comfortable speed, right? So that's when you do this temporary one, alternate control, page up, page down. On the other hand, if you want to permanently change it, you press alternate control, Windows, page up, page down. If I'm not wrong. So let's do that. So alternate control windows are the 3 keys next to the space bar. So you use your left hand, 3 fingers to press down these 3, and then your right hand will press the page up, page down.
Faster.
Okay.
Faster.
Okay, so now
Download 3 of 31.
I'm
Location
in
download.
desktop. If I switch to something else like the zoom window,
Menu. Stop share left parent alt plus S right parent button. Music currently unmuted alt plus A. Audio settings button drop down.
you
Stop video left parent alt plus E right parent
notice
button.
it's still fast.
Leaving menus. JAWS Professional. Media controls to move to line press the arrow keys. Temp tutorial material. Items view multi-select list box. Word
Right, again, yeah, since sort of remind you of again, right? So alternate tab will only jump between 2 windows. If you want to go to the third one, you must hold down alternate and press tab a few times.
Zoom for visually impaired computer users. 75 of 77. Zoom text troubleshooting tips. PDF 76 of 77.
So you notice
Document
it's
size,
fast consistently, right? So this is
Windows E. Folder view list.
as compared to the temporary one. So I adjust it back down.
Slower.
Okay, so these are the quick ways of changing how fast it speaks. There's a long cut, which is basically you go to the JAWS dialog box and go inside settings and adjust
Temp
it.
tutorial meeting and JAWS Professional.
So once again, the menu bar thing, so you can just press alternate, it will always I think it will always be the first one. So at least in JAWS, it's always the first one,
Menu bar options. Then
which they call options instead of file. But basically, it's as good as choosing the file menu.
menu options menu basics
So
dot dot
go
dot
down.
voices sub menu
There's voices. So under voices,
voice adjustment dot 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 v
there's voice adjustment, and you press
enter leaving
enter.
menus voice adjustment dialog profile name combo box eloquence dash left
So
parent
what happens is after you've done a bunch of settings for a voice, you basically can save it and it will become a profile, which will be where we are now. There'll be a list of profiles. So once again, to remind you, I'll turn it down arrow.
open list box eloquence dash left fast 5 of 9
Oops.
fast 5 of 19
Okay.
eloquence dash left parent factor your profile name combo box eloquence dash left parent fact open list box eloquence fast 5 of 19
So very strangely,
fast 5 of 19 eloquence dash left eloquence dash left
Chinese 回3 of 19
okay, so very strangely, this is one of those cases where I was telling you all, right, alternate down is to open the combo box so that you can go through the list of options without affecting the option. But it seems to be just changing options as we are. Okay, let's do escape.
escape profile name combo box
Yep, so much for not
eloquence dash
changing.
left parent factory right escape profile name combo box eloquence dash left parent factory
But anyway, so factory.
enable additional voice
Once again, tap to different parts of dialog box by using tab.
synthesizer language combo box match JAWS UI language left
Okay, so you can actually change what language the synthesizers talk in.
speak sample button voice
So
adjust
I focus on adjusting speaking rate first, then come back to you and talk about the other voices.
voice rate 67 left right slider 24% to increase or decrease use the arrow key
Right, so this is the long cut for adjusting speaking rate. Of course, if you can't remember keyboard commands, although like I hope you all can like force yourself to practice and actually you use these keyboard commands. But anyway, if you can't remember, it's like bring up the JAWS dialog box, click on options, click on voices, click on voice adjustment, then you can drag that slider, right? So the
voice punctuation voice rate 67 left right slider 24
since we're on this, there are certain issues with how this sort of thing, the slider works, right? Especially in web pages. So here in JAWS, they allow you to adjust how fast it speaks by just using keyboard commands, by arrow keys.
26% 25%
Right? See, I'm moving
24%
back and forth.
27%
Right? But in web pages, you can't always do that. It's how the slider is coded. So sliders are actually a bit of, very often quite a bit of an issue for screen reader users, right? So just a point of interest for you to take note in case you do get to the point where supporting your students on quite a advanced level.
voice punctuation combo box most 3 of 4
Okay, so that's for speaking rate. So since I've done with the speaking rate, I'll tell you about all of the other options. You can adjust how much punctuation it speaks. Usually it will not speak the most common punctuation like your commas, full stops, and question marks, or at least when you're reading the whole stuff. But it will read things like dash, brackets, quotation marks. Okay, so but you can choose. The thing is they actually only give you fixed groups of punctuation to read. So unless you really want to get quite sophisticated and adjust down to individual punctuation, which is actually possible, but even I haven't done that, so I don't plan to try and make a fool of myself by showing you something I'm not familiar with.
26% 27 voice punctuation combo box most 3 of 4 to
So
change
there are a few options.
open list box
None,
most 3 of 4
all, most, some.
all 4 most some none 1 of 4 some 2 of 4
If I'm not wrong, the default option is some, but I usually will tweak it and go to most. So I guess what I'm doing now is also sharing with you certain settings that I tend to tweak for my students, so they can also try and do it.
most 3 of 4
So why not more? Why not some and go to most instead? So there are certain punctuation which I find is necessary to let the student know exists. I can't remember what the punctuation is. Maybe something like dash and brackets. So don't quote me on that, but my vague impression is there are sometimes some punctuation which I think is not spoken if you choose a sum option, which I think they should know. So I usually adjust this to most.
most 3 of 4 voice volume 100 left right slider
You are supposed to adjust volume, like how loud is the voice, but not always. So this is useful if you tend to want to keep your voice softer than average or louder than average compared to the rest of the sounds that come from the computer. Like for example, maybe you find the voice too soft compared to your YouTube videos, or maybe it could be the opposite, right? So you might adjust this, but usually we don't really do this, and quite often it's not even available, right? So this other thing called pitch change, which is I think not allowed for JAWS.
Voice spell rate change percent.
Okay, no, I shouldn't say
Voice volume.
for JAWS. There's this other concept since I'm mentioning this. So people will say, oh, this is the JAWS voice, and oh, that is the narrator voice. But it's not quite accurate. What we have here are what is called synthesizers. So this synthesizer is called eloquence. Probably because it's associated with JAWS so much. So informally, loosely speaking, you can call it the JAWS voice. But there are actually eloquence produced and coded, which can work with NVDA, can work with narrator, can work with other things. So it's technically not very correct to say that eloquence only works with JAWS. It's a JAWS voice because it doesn't only work with JAWS, right? Then there are other voices as well. So people will say, oh, you're using narrator with a JAWS. Oh, that's not correct also, right? So anyway, let me go back to that.
Voice spell rate change percent colon edit
Later.
minus 20.
Okay, so pitch change is another thing which you can change for your synthesizer. But I think down here you're only allowed to change pitch for
voice spell rate change percent colon edit minus.
Okay, sorry, this is spell rate change. So basically you have this option, at least for eloquence, to make the voice speak significantly slower when it's spelling something out, because you maybe can understand words at a higher speed, but even I can't follow if it spells a word at that kind of speed. So it looks like it's a general situation. So they work it into the settings so that whenever it's spelling a word, it will automatically slow down. Down here it's 20%. So if you find that it's necessary, you can adjust it to slow down much more.
Voice uppercase pitch change percent colon edit 20. Type and text.
I can't remember whether I highlighted this to you all, but eloquence and quite a few of the other screen readers, they have been programmed so that when they're speaking a capital letter, they will speak with a higher pitch, so that you can appreciate that there's a capital letter there. It doesn't do this when it's reading non-stop, but if you're doing left and right arrows, moving letter by letter, when you move to a capital letter, it will go higher pitch so that you will be alerted that it's a capital letter. So again, you can change how much higher pitch it goes, or even no higher pitch change.
OK button to act, save, apply button, cancel button,
all right,
profile name colon combo box, eloquent, enable additional voice profile, synthesizer language colon combo box, speak sample button, voice adjust colon combo box, all context, voice rate colon 7 left, synthesizer language, enable additional profile name.
So it's under profile here. So what you have here in profiles is actually a few different synthesizers. JAWS comes with eloquence. It has a few other voices which you can download from the website of the software provider. So I think what you can do is, I will always find those synthesizers by typing Google search. I'll Google search Freedom Scientific, then the name of the synthesizer. So there's really only one that they recommend nowadays, which is Vocalizer Expressive. But they have a few others. They used to have this one called Vocalizer Direct, and they have this Real Speak Solo. So I think you just type Real Speak. Differences, I think the idea is supposed to be the Vocalizer Expressive are the best quality, but they may not have exactly the same kind of voices as Real Speak and Vocalizer Direct. Okay, one reason why I kept Vocalizer Direct. So the key difference between Vocalizer Direct and Vocalizer Expressive is, well, Vocalizer Expressive is expressive, but Vocalizer Direct isn't. So there's no pitch change option for Vocalizer Direct voices. But I still kept that because Vocalizer Direct has this particular Chinese speaking voice called Ting Ting, which I think is not available in Vocalizer Expressive. Right? So that's the kind of reasons for you to choose different kind of vocalizer. There's this voice called Mailing, which is only available in Real Speak Solo. So there are different differences in the quality of voices, but the interesting thing sometimes is that the higher quality voices may actually be a bit harder to understand. So you might intentionally go for more flatter sounding voices. Yeah, so these are just like more comments for you all in case you find them interesting. People usually find it very interesting to play around with the voices. Vocalizer Expressive, Freener Scientific, which is sort of the company which produces JAWS, does tend to quite strongly promote their Vocalizer Expressive voices. So you do see their demo stuff using particular voices beyond eloquence. They use, I think this quite popular one that they use is Nathan. So you all can have a lot of fun with your students, helping them download different voices, and they support different languages, as I just mentioned, Chinese, English, and English has different accents of English. Let me show you.
Enable additional voice. Profile name combo box. Eloquence dash left parent factory right
So,
parent for
for-
P. JAWS dialog. You have made changes to the currently selected no button. Enter voice adjustment dialog. Profile name combo box. Eloquence dash left parent fact JAWS dialog. Escape.
Let me start.
Title is voice adjustment JAWS. Title is voice adjustment. No button to activate. Press spacebar. Alt plus N. Enter voice adjustment dialog. Profile name
Okay, actually one mistake I made just now is actually I read the whole message first before choosing yes or no. But anyway.
Escape. JAWS professional.
Okay.
Alt F menu. Braille voices sub voice adjustment. Enter. Leaving menus. Voice adjustment dialog. Delete profile name combo.
Okay.
V. Vocalizer Expressive. 13 of 19.
Okay, so Vocalizer Expressive.
Delete profile
I downloaded quite a lot of voices for this.
Enable additional voice pro synthesizer language combo box.
You can set what language it uses. You can set it so that it actually sticks to speaking in a. Okay, what happens is programmed such that it will recognize the language, or it's supposed to recognize the language that you're using, and then it's supposed to switch to a voice which speaks that language. But you can intentionally make it stick to using a particular language voice, right? So this is where this option comes in, where you can set
English-United States.
English-Australia.
English-United Kingdom.
right. So you're
4 of
starting
9.
to hear all the different accents of English. Really.
Chinese left parent simplified right parent dash China 5 of 9.
Right. So this is a Chinese voice. So you hear the English spoken with a Chinese accent, and the numbers will be spoken as Chinese. So 5 of 9. So it's a 5 of 9. Right?
English-India. 6 of 9.
And they actually work Indian English into the list of voices.
English-Ireland. 7 of 9.
English-Scotland. 8 of 9.
So the way the English is pronounced definitely will have difference, but sometimes some people don't actually bother about accent. Just that particular accents somehow seem to work better for particular people. So if you happen to be this such a strange situation, but not unheard of, where the most common voices don't seem to work for your student, this could be another reason to play with the voices.
English-South Africa. 9.
Yeah, so
Chinese left parent simplified right parent dash China. Set language as primary.
So you will choose this set language as primary if you want it to speak like a Chinese, use a Chinese speaking voice even when you're reading English content.
Speak sample button. Voice adjust combo box. All contexts.
So this all context thing is I think it's a bit advanced, so maybe I won't mention this unless I happen to come across this later.
Voice person
Okay, voice person. So for a single language, there's still many different voices. So
Li compact PRC 2 of 3.
So Lily,
bin compact dash.
This guy is called Ping Ping.
Tian compact PR.
Tian Tian. These are the 3 I have here. Okay, so
voice read voice.
Li voice read (100) left right slider 14%.
Okay, so
to increase or depth.
I guess I saw.
上午10:06.
Yeah, I definitely have spent a lot of time playing with this thing. So you all can spend more time playing with it. So on top of choosing what language, what higher quality voices, poor quality, less quality voices, how fast it speaks, how loud it speaks, pitch change. If you really have to do it, but usually this is more a fun exercise than a practical exercise. Most of us just get used to eloquence.
Voice
another reason why we didn't switch in the past is Vocalizer Direct and Real Speak. They tend to lag a little bit as compared to eloquence. But supposedly vocalizer expressive is now very responsive. So I think that's another reason why the people doing the demos will use that, because it's fast enough that it doesn't drag the user experience. Maybe one more point, huh?
Voice. Volume :70. Left. Voice.
Yeah.
JAWS Professional.
Okay,
Alt
so
menu up.
if you play with the options so much, I think you don't know what you've done already. Just press escape and you just go back towards the previous voice.
Voices voice menu bar. Options menu. Base voices voice adjustment enter. Leaving
Okay,
menus.
so finally,
Fast 5 of 19.
Wait.
Karen,
Lily.
Microsoft Mobile dash left paren
right, so this voice, what a lot of our visually impaired people describe as the narrator voice. It is not narrator voice. This is actually from a family of voices called
SAPI 5x dash left paren factory
SAPI
right
5,
paren.
right? So SAPI 5 is a very big family of many different kinds of voices. I think SAPI 5 is something like the base coding technology. They can be produced by different software providers, solution providers, whatever you call them, providers. And Windows has these voices built into them as well. If not, you can sort of download them free. Right, so SAPI 5 voices, because they come with Windows, and narrator runs on whatever comes with Windows, which is why they are described as narrator voices. But actually, even for narrator, you can switch to something. Okay, the thing about vocalizer, expressive direct, and real speak solo direct, they are coded by Freedom Scientific just for Freedom Scientific software. So narrator can't use those. But the opposite is they can use whatever you comes with Windows, right? So if you feel the need to, you can actually like try and use whatever's in the Windows. You don't even need to do anything else other than like run through all the profile settings here in the JAWS setting. Yep, so David, this guy is called David.
Enable additional voice synthesizer language. Speak sample button. Voice adjust voice person combo box. Microsoft David desktop dash United States. 1 of 2.
Microsoft Zira Desktop United States.
This is the other voice.
2 of 2.
Zia. There's another voice called Mark. I think that's a UK English voice, which is why you don't see it here, because this only shows US English voices under SAPI 5. Okay. Okay. I guess I've done more than I should for this really.
JAWS Professional.
It's quite fun, you know. Okay. I guess I will stop here. It's more than 1 hour already. Let's have a 5-minute break, and then when I come back, I will probably talk about Excel. Okay, guys.
Menu. Stop video left parent alt plus.
Thank you.
Okay, see you all in a while.
Space. Camera off. Video setting. Start video left parent alt. Off mute. Current space. Audio settings button. Unmute. Currently muted. Alt plus A button. Space. Audio. Start video left. Video settings. Security. Open participants panel. 14 participants. Alt plus U button. Space. Catherine Kuak. Lisa Hui left. A022. Amanda Yapshi. Brian. Desmond So. Faith. Desmond So. Computer audio muted. Video off. Faith Teo. Jeffrey Cock. Lorcan. Matre Lee. Pan Kai Yi. Tan Xian Zhen. Tan Shu Ning. Tan Xian Zhen. Tan Shu Ning. Kwek Bin Chong. Left parent host. Me right escape. Open part.
All right, everyone, are we back?
Can you all give like emoji if you're here?
So meaning, go ahead.
Escape.
Oops. You know, well.
Alta.
So I'm not sure if they're back.
Alta.
Okay, Ken, I'll take the chance to take a phone call.
Alta.
Okay.
Alta.
Okay, scam phone call.
Title is Meeting Controls. More options for open participants panel. 14 participants. Alt plus U. Security. Video settings. Start video. Mute. Currently unmuted.
How do you tell whether they're back or not? Were they on your video? Right.
Oh, I don't have to put the
Status.
like the raise hand like sign.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah.
All ping already. Listen until ping already.
Ping? What does that mean?
Anyway, I guess maybe I can just start. Since they will have the recording anyway. See. So I've done my sequences. Yeah. Okay, I sort of thought better of it. I still want to do 3 points in the jaw setting, which I find quite useful to show people. So I'll do that. And I guess I'll just never mind for MBDA. Do I want never mind for MBDA? Okay, I'll see how much time I
Is it
spend
very
on it.
similar?
The way settings are arranged are very different for JAWS and MBDA. It's possible to do it quite quickly. So I'll see how long I take to do all the settings for JAWS. 3 points. So 3 points if I'll see whether I do it in 15 minutes. If I do it in 15 minutes or less, I'll do something in MBDA. Okay, so JAWS.
Leaving menus. JAWS Professional.
On second thoughts, there may be more than 3 points. By the way, okay, so this is the JAWS window. If you are working with students, actually the default setting for JAWS nowadays is not like this. You actually don't have this JAWS window. So I will show you something first. If you're running JAWS for the first time, there is usually this thing called a startup wizard, which will take you through certain key, most important, most common settings for JAWS. Although it's a startup wizard, you can come back and invoke the startup wizard again at any time, which is what I will do now. So startup wizard is under help menu. So like I was already saying, right? So
title is JAWS Professional.
Alt H will open the help menu.
Alt H menu, help menu.
Startup wizard is somewhere down here. I never remember the letter, so I'll just arrow down.
Training. Right. JAWS help keyboard. What's new? Technicals web resource about JAWS startup wizard Z.
Okay, startup wizard Z. Okay, Z for wizard because nothing else contains the word wizard here. Right? So that could be how you memorize. But you don't exactly need to do this all the time. So no real need to memorize the Z. not like the alternate HA thing. It's quite common, at least in the old layout for many programs, not just for JAWS. So alternate HA usually is useful to learn.
Enter. Leaving menus. JAWS Startup Wizard dialog. Help us improve Freedom Scientific products. Would you like to participate in our effort to improve Freedom Scientific products by submitting anonymous usage data? Participate checkbox.
So this is yes or no. It's optional. Doesn't matter which one you choose.
Anonymous data collect privacy. Next greater button to activate. Press space
Choose
bar.
next.
Alt.
So once again, to reinforce in you all the basic concepts for navigating is tap to the option you want and press enter.
Enter. Speech settings. Rate :69. Left right.
So you can always come back here to adjust how fast it speaks.
Punctuation. Rate :69. Left right slider 26% to increase
You
or decrease.
can use your arrow keys.
25%.
Right. So to adjust.
29%. 25%. Punctuation : combo box. Most 3 of 4.
I was already talking about adjusting punctuation, most or some or what. So my preference is most.
Typing echo characters and words.
Typing echo. So when you type your ABC, you type DOG, you say DOG, and that's character echo.
Typing echo off radio button checked. Typing echo characters radio button checked.
So this is character echo, right? So
typing echo words radio button.
But if it's the typing echo is words, is after your DOG, you press space, it'll say dot. If you turn this off, it'll just say DOG space. It won't say the word dot. So my preference is
typing
this one.
echo characters and words radio button check.
Characters and words, which I seem to remember is the default setting for JAWS. So this is good because sometimes you type too fast, you don't listen to the character echo, but after the space, it pronounces the word funny. That is usually a way to alert you that you may have typed the word wrongly. Not always, because sometimes it just pronounces certain words funny. But if you hear a word that's funny, it sort of makes you wake up. Maybe you type wrongly, then you can go back check. Otherwise, some people, yeah, they type too fast. They're busy showing people that they can type really fast, that they forget to check that whether they type mistakes. So my own preference is characters and words, especially for beginners.
Enable voice assistant checkbox checked. A clear check mark. Press.
Voice assistant. This is a feature with new versions of JAWS, I think from 2021 onwards or 2020 onwards, where you basically, everybody must have a Hey Siri, Hey Google thing. So JAWS also has something. It's not Hey, it's thanks, stop. Hey Google, stop. Okay, so for JAWS, the trigger word is Sharky. And it will give a tone, and then you give it some commands. At this current point, it's very limited. Sharky, because it's the JAWS, JAWS the shark. You all still know that JAWS is actually the name of a movie featuring a shark, right? So that's where the idea for the logo for JAWS came in, and all the corny little metaphors around JAWS. So we leave this on. Don't need to bother. It can be useful. Like you want to check the date, I think you can check battery level. But yeah, anyway.
Press back button to next great enter.
Next.
Run JAWS settings if you select start JAWS at the logon screen.
Okay, so this is like set so that the JAWS automatically starts when you start a computer. Probably you can do this for students who they're the only user of the laptop, and they have to use it non-stop all the time. Like if your students who are still not very comfortable with JAWS, honestly, in that kind of scenario, I'm not sure that you'll be teaching them anything anyway. But well, yeah. So for whatever reason, if they don't, they can deactivate this. So
start JAWS after logon for all users. Start JAWS at the logon.
Okay, this log on screen and versus after on screen. So log on screen is the thing before you actually see your Windows. You have things like welcome or the installing updates, do not turn off your computer, that kind of thing. So those things is before you enter Windows. And for not very sure why it doesn't have to trigger the JAWS to read that information. Probably because it slows down the computer a bit to try and trigger JAWS at that point in the Windows launch. But anyway, you screen reader users need to have that part of the screen read to them. So usually you will choose this, unless you have NVDA. So my experience with NVDA is NVDA launches at the log on screen faster than JAWS. So what I personally have done is I have JAWS, I have NVDA. I set NVDA to speak at the log on screen, but I set JAWS to not speak at the log on screen. Yeah, so that's another tip to share with you all.
Start JAWS after logon for all users. Checkbox not checked. To check.
For starting JAWS after log on, there are two settings for JAWS. Either is this thing with the chat box.
Start JAWS after logon for this user : combo box using the all user setting 3 of.
Or this little box here where you can choose whether you want to start JAWS according to the all user settings, never or always. Like whether you want to follow the other setting or just ignore it lah. Basically.
Run JAWS from system tray. Start JAWS after.
For this one, I usually not very sure why there's a difference, so I just sort of play safe and just unify both lah. So if the chat box I check start for all users, at this point I actually also still choose always lah. And then if I don't check the chat box for start for all users at this combo box here, I'll choose never. So here's the other one.
From system tray checkbox not checked.
Okay, so this is the one which I think is checked. So when it's checked, you won't get that dialog box thing which you see now. I'll check it now so that you can see it.
Checked. Prompt to confirm when exiting JAWS checkbox checked.
Okay, so this is another thing which was like only available in later version of JAWS. So when you exit JAWS, they ask you, are you sure you want to exit? But you can turn it off so that it was just straight away shut off JAWS. I personally feel that there's a point to being reminded before it turns off, so I keep this checked.
Less back button. Next, enter common options. Smart navigation off radio.
So these
Forms
things
mode auto
I
radio.
will
Use keyboard layout : combo box. Laptop.
Except for this one, keyboard layout. So I was mentioning last session, there's a difference in keyboard commands between laptop layout and desktop layout. So you want to adjust this if your student is using a laptop, because you quite likely the keys are a bit tricky to press if you stick to the desktop layout.
Use virtual ribbon menus checkbox not checked.
So
Check
I
press
also
spacebar, Alt
don't
+V.
really understand this one. I'll just leave it alone.
Initial state of numlock key turn off at startup radio button checked. One of.
To me, I choose turn off, but there are some users who want to be able to use number pad to type numbers, so they might choose the turn on. I choose it turn off because the keypad actually contains some JAWS specific keyboard commands, but I probably won't cover with your
less back button
unless you want to do a hardcore session kind of thing.
Next greater but enter verbosity settings. Tutor
So again, usually I don't touch this one.
Verbosity left.
But I'll come back to something related to this after this.
Less back button. Next greater button to enter Braille translation.
Okay, so once again, unless you have your user working with Braille devices, I will usually just ignore this as well.
Enter Braille settings. Braille mode combo box structured to
same thing. So if you don't use Braille devices, you can just take the current setting.
Enter JAWS professional.
Okay, so now that I have this,
Windows D folder view list.
Okay, so now that I turn it on,
JAWS professional to move to an item, press the arrow keys. JAWS professional. Alt F4, quit JAWS dialog. Are you sure you want to quit JAWS? Enter desktop.
Okay, I turn off JAWS, I restart JAWS.
JAWS splitting sounds tip for JAWS dialog. A new feature will let you don't show. Okay, enter mute. Currently unmuted. Alt.
Okay, so now if I do alternate tab.
Temp tutorial : send items dash zoom. Meeting temp tutorial : send items zoom. Zoom.
And you'll notice now I don't have JAWS in the list of running programs because of that setting which is run from system tray. Right. So
Windows D.
So in this case, if you want to get JAWS, the window, you can't even get the window. Instead, you get this other thing. So there's a command to invoke JAWS menu and settings, which is insert J.
JAWS context menu option sub menu to move.
Then now you will see there's a menu instead at the bottom right there. And you can arrow through the options.
Utility submenu, language submenu, help submenu, about ... exit X, option submenu O.
Okay, so this will be different from the dialog box, right? That thing in the top there. So navigating through the main menus is up and down, while for the dialog box, actually shouldn't call it dialog box. It's not strictly speaking a dialog box, but whatever. For the dialog box is horizontal, and for this is vertical, right? So there is a difference in terms of navigation commands. But yeah, if you're beside your student, then that's fine. If you can see what they're doing on the screen, that's fine. But otherwise, you sort of need to be aware of this because you might give the wrong direction commands. There, you might tell them left and right when it's up and down. Right? So
utility submenu U, language submenu L, option submenu O.
Okay. Right. So that's that. Next thing I want to introduce you all to sets. Okay, by default, JAWS is set so that your mouse is really practically useless. If you use your mouse and move your arrow around, nothing happens, and JAWS doesn't tell you anything. But there is this feature called mouse echo, right? So if you have mouse echo turned on, if you move your mouse, the pointer arrow over something that's text, it will actually read up to you with the mouse echo turned on, but it's turned off by default. So I usually recommend that you turn this on. Some users actually don't like this, but I personally find it is useful. Especially for people with still some site, they could find this useful. So I'll just show you anyway.
Utility submenu view.
It's under this utilities menu.
Voice assistant, JAWS tandem, screen shake, synthesizer, and sound card settings center.
This thing called settings center. Right, so you can go to utilities menu, then choose settings center. Right.
Enter context menu, leaving menu bar, folder view, list view, NVDA 4 of.
So you know, like there are keyboard commands for everything. So if you press insert 6, right, 6 as in the 1, 2, 3 above your QWER, that row. So insert 6 will also jump directly here. Then you have to choose this part here.
Application : combo box, default left parent.
You make sure up there it says default all settings. Again, as a keyboard command, you can press Ctrl Shift D, which will automatically set everything to all default settings.
Search box edit, preview, user closed, 1 of 26. To move through or expand.
You can use the search to type mouse echo, but for me, I will user closed, just show you the longer cut.
Web/H forms mode closed.
Once again, right, this is a tree view. You can use up and down arrows to move through the items.
Text processing closed.
And you know, you hear this thing about close.
Forms mode closed.
Right, it means that if you press right arrow, you
forms
expand
mode
it.
open 4 items.
But we don't need forms
here. Mode text speech verbosity closed. Speech options closed. Speech and sound schemes say all closed. Graphics and symbol braille closed. Braille and text caret and cursor synthesizer punctuation voice aliases window classes keyboard custom highlight research it text analyzer convenient OCR gestures mouse echo closed.
Okay, so mouse echo. So right arrow to open.
Mouse echo open. Level 1. Enable mouse echo checked 1 of 7. Mouse echo.
Okay, I've already enabled this. So
space not checked. Space checked.
Okay, space will switch it between on and off. So that's all you need to do. So once you have this, you move your mouse around. Let me see. Where do I have a mouse?
JAWS settings center dash default left parent all application. Internet Explorer list item.
Right, so now I'm over Internet Explorer. It announces Internet Explorer. Right, so that's mouse echo.
Level 0. Mouse echo open 7 items.
And that's like independent of what I'm doing with my keyboard, so I can use keyboard move around. I think that's what causes confusion and why some screen reader users don't like it. Right. So, but anyway.
Level 1. Enable mouse echo checked 1 of 7. Level 0. Mouse echo.
So once again, if you want to hide things, you can do left arrow.
Mouse echo closed 23 of 26.
Okay, so that's just like this thing about expand close, right? It's just a side note to sort of hopefully jog your memory back to what we were saying last week. Okay, so that's for mouse echo. Next, since we're here, another 2 more things which I will do from the settings center. So this thing.
Convenient OCR closed. Text analyzer. Research it. Custom highlight. Keyboard closed. Window classic. Custom highlight. Custom level 1. Configure highlight colors. Level 0. Research it. Level 1. Config level 0. Custom keyboard. Window classes. Voice alias. Punctuation.
Okay, so this thing
closed.
is basically
caret and cursor. Braille and text. Braille close. Graphics and symbol. Say all close. Speech and sound schemes. Speech option. Speech verbose. Text process. Forms mode. Web/H. User close.
Let me see.
Forms mode.
I may have
Text
also
processing. Speech verbosity. Speech options closed.
Speech option.
Say all closed. Speech and sounds. Say graphics and symbols closed. Braille closed. Braille and text. Caret and cursor. Synthesizer. Punctuation. Voice alias. Window classes. Keyboard. Custom highlight. Research it closed. Text analyzer. Convenient OC. Gestures. Mouse echo. Visual tracking closed.
Visual tracking. So under visual tracking,
visual track level 1. Highlight virtual ribbon checked 1 of 4. Visual highlight virtual PC cursor checked.
Okay, so these are options which allow a rectangle to be shown around the option that JAWS is reading. Again, honestly, this is probably not useful for most screen reader users who probably can't see anything at all. It might help for people who are still able to see and would like to see, and it probably might help you all. Although maybe you all already have good enough, I said that you can see that very thin little rectangle around what the voice is saying most of the time. But yeah, if you highlight this, it could help certain low vision users like myself. So I will come here and then select. Once again, it's like spatial to toggle them on and off. And yeah, for some reason, they're quite happy to like split it up into whether you want the rectangle to show for this particular case or that particular case. We'll compare this to NVIDIA. NVIDIA is just across the board. They don't quite split into subgroups.
Level 0. Visual tracking.
Okay, so that's the other main point I will tell people I would like to suggest is that
miscellaneous closed.
Then the third point
Text analyzer. Research it. Closed. Custom.
is
Keyboard.
under this
Window classes.
verbosity.
Closed. Voice aliases. Punctuation. Synthesis. Carrot. Braille. Graphics. Say all. Closed.
Y'all can tell I'm moving through the options, right? And
Speech options. Speech and sound schemes. Speech verbosity.
okay,
Closed.
under speech verbosity,
Speech verbosity. Open. 3 items.
right arrow to open up the option.
Level 1. Verbosity level beginner. Highest. 1 of 3.
So by default, the verbosity means how much it says, like how much information it announces to the user. One reason that a lot of people with some vision don't like something like JAWS is it reads too much for them. They're overwhelmed by the amount of information it's read. But it's actually recommended, in my opinion at least. Right, so that's also what JAWS has done. So their default setting is verbosity level is highest, so most level information. If you do get so advanced, you want to explore this. Even I really don't bother to explore. Well, okay, maybe because I'm happy with the beginner settings. But if you find that there are people who really hate it so much, they must like try and reduce a bit here, reduce a bit there. You could come here and play with this option.
Configure verbosity levels. Closed.
Okay, so especially this one, configure verbosity.
Configure level 2. Beginner ... 1 of 3.
So you can configure each one. So of course you can just pick any one and just totally configure and just ignore whether it says begin or not. Anyway, so
Space. Beginner preferences dialog. Items to be spoken.
I am showing you now the list of beginner options which are there. Why I highlight this? Because there's one option under the verbosity settings which is not checked by default, but which I personally find very useful, and that's all the way at the bottom.
And tooltip checked. 24 of 24.
Tooltip, right? So by default it's not checked, but I have selected it. So what does this one do? So when you're sitting on an icon and there's a little white box which pops up, okay, sometimes maybe not white, but basically there's a little box which pops up with some information about that icon or that file or that folder. JAWS by default is set so that this information is not read to you, right? But I cannot understand why. Okay, I can roughly understand. Probably it's like this trade-off between hearing too much information again. But to me, it is very useful, especially if you want to quickly find out how big is the file. That's to me is the most useful. Another reason I would want to hear the information from, basically that thing is called a tooltip. Another reason why I want to hear the tooltip is because sometimes I want to know the date modified, and sometimes I want to know the file format. So these are all things which will be announced in that tooltip. Okay, so you could sort of say, oh, if you want to file date, you can always just arrow left and right at that point. If you want the file formats, actually you had to tweak the setting so that what we call the file extension, so the end the .docx, .mp3, what is also displayed in the file explorer view, which is also true. But yeah, so which is why like the file size is the one that is most important to me, because I think very often for some reason I can't find the file size. So having everything read to me directly is more convenient to me. I also observe a lot of screen reader users who are learning. They struggle to try and find out the file size and things like that. So that's why I recommend this tooltip thing. So once you select, right, it's a checkbox, right? So once again, remind you your basics. Checkbox, spacebar to select checkbox.
JAWS message length long radio. OK button to activate. Press spacebar. Alt plus O.
Okay, so I already set this. Just escape.
Escape. Preview. Beginner ... 1 of level 1. Configure verbosity. Configure verbosity level. Text processing. Form web/html. User closed. Web text process.
Okay, so these are the main things for settings for JAWS.
Escape. Desktop. Finds and displays in 10:40 a.m.
I think I took quite long with that. Anyway, for what it's worth, I will still do the NVDA thing anyway. At least I'll give you enough to compare with these three things for JAWS and NVDA.
Unloading JAWS. Quit JAWS.
So keyboard commands. Since we're doing this, so keyboard command insert F4 will close JAWS. Remember this because Alt F4 is close Windows, Control F4 is close tabs. So insert F4 is close JAWS, right?
Enter desktop folder.
Alternate Control N will start NVDA. Unfortunately, you need to set JAWS to start with alternate Control J. Maybe I won't do that today now. Okay, so quickly go to the JAWS NVDA settings. So NVDA, go to settings. There's definitely no dialog box, right? You can't configure settings so that there's a dialog box for NVDA. That's one of the differences again between JAWS and NVDA. you can go to the bottom right there, right? So JAWS is now configured so that if you go to bottom right, you can bring up the JAWS menus from there. You can also go to the bottom right and bring up NVDA menus from there. But the most often common way of bringing up the settings for NVDA is just press the command. So insert N, right? So you have insert J for JAWS, you have insert N for NVDA.
NVDA menu.
And they don't have dialog box, but they amazingly have a menu out of nowhere, and then these are all the settings.
Preferences of menu P.
So I'll just quickly go into preferences,
Settings. S.
and settings.
NVDA settings : general left paren, normal configuration right paren, dialog.
So this is general. So immediately you can see some of the things, the parallels already. So
general property page. NVDA language left paren, requires restart right paren. Save configuration when exiting NVDA checkbox not checked, Alt plus S.
this is one of the things which isn't there for JAWS. You sort of just save when you finish setting the settings. NVDA has an option where you save, where you can choose whether to save or exiting. I usually uncheck this. Default is on though. So another, if you are setting NVDA for your students, you want to uncheck this because sometimes they mess up the settings, right? And they don't know what they messed up. But if they save on exit, then whatever they messed up is permanently messed up. So you uncheck this so that if you exit NVDA and you come back, at least you'll go back to the previous setting if you didn't know what you messed up. Of course, flip side is if you forget to save. Sorry, give me a while.
Meeting controls window. Mute. Currently
I
unmuted.
need
Alt plus button.
to attend to somebody at the door.
NVDA settings : meeting controls row 1 column 2. Meeting controls window. Stop share left paren. Dock to bottom button. More drop down button. Apps button. Remote control button. Annotate button. Pause share left paren. Alt plus Q right paren. Share option drop down. New share left paren. Audio now. Share. Pause share left paren. Alt plus Q right paren. Button. You are muted. Press Alt plus A to unmute your microphone or press and hold the space key to temporarily unmute. Remote control. Annotate button. Remote control button. Annotate button. Pause share left. Annotate. Remote apps button. More drop down button. Dock to bottom button. Stop share left. Unmute. Currently muted. Alt plus A button. Unmute has left the waiting room for this meeting alert. Unmute has joined the meeting alert.
You're muted. Wait.
I think he said he went to attend to someone at the door or something.
Okay.
Start window. Meeting controls. Audio settings drop. Mute. Currently unmuted. Alt plus A button.
Okay, sorry. Let's go
NVDA
back.
settings : general left paren. Normal configuration right paren. Dialog. General property page. Save configuration when exit.
So recommendation, don't save on exit.
Show exit options when exiting NVDA checkbox not checked. Alt plus W.
So this is similar to the JAWS thing, whether you want to be prompted when you're exiting.
Play sounds when starting or exiting NVDA checkbox checked. Alt plus V.
So leave this alone. Screen the user definitely want some kind of confirmation that the software has started or has exited.
Logging level : combo box info collapse. Alt plus O. Start NVDA after
So start after log
Use
on.
NVDA during sign dash in left paren. Requires administrator privileges right paren. Check.
Use on sign in is start at the log on screen. So previous one is start after log on. So the order is a bit reversed compared to Jaws.
Use currently saved settings during sign dash in and unsecure screens left paren. Automatically check for updates to NVDA checkbox check alt plus U. Notify for pending update on start of checkbox. Allow the NVDA project to gather
So
NVDA
this
usage
we
statistics.
can
Check OK
basically
button.
ignore.
Cancel button. Apply button alt plus A. Categories colon list. General 1 of 13.
Okay, so
Speech 2 of 13.
so you can also play with your speech settings
Speech
here.
property text change. Button alt plus H.
So you know on the left hand side you click on speech, then you can play all this, change the voice setting, change what voice you use, what synthesizer you use, what language you use, how fast it speaks, and things like how it behaves with capital letters.
Category apply button alt plus A. Categories colon list.
Right.
Speech 2 of 13. Braille 3 of 13.
Braille.
Vision 4 of 13.
Vision. So this is the visual tracking thing in JAWS. By now, NVDA sort of incorporates this.
Vision property page configure visual aids. Visual highlight grouping. Enable highlighting checkbox check alt plus C.
Or highlighting whether yes or no.
Highlight system focus checkbox check alt plus C.
Right. So okay. So they do have differentiated highlights now.
Highlight navigator object checkbox check alt plus O.
Right. What do things to highlight?
Highlight browse mode cursor checkbox. Screen print. Always show warning when loading. Amanda FGU has left the meeting alert. Always show play sound when talk. OK button. Cancel button. Apply button alt plus A. Categories colon keyboard 5 of 13.
Keyboard. Keyboard is the same thing. You have word echo, character echo, things like that.
Mouse 6 of 13.
Mouse. Again, once again, by default, they're okay compared to JAWS. JAWS is mouse echo is off by default. NVDA is on by default.
Mouse property page. Report mouse shape changes checkbox not check alt plus S. Enable mouse tracking checkbox check alt plus T. Text unit resolution colon. Combo box pair. Report roll when mouse enters object checkbox not check. Play audio coordinates when mouse moves checkbox not check alt. Report roll when mouse enters object checkbox not check alt plus.
This is actually a bit more to play with than what I mentioned.
Play audio coordinates when mouse brightness controls audio coordinates volume. Ignore mouse input from other OK button.
Hey, on
Mouse
second
property page.
thoughts.
Ignore mouse input from other applications. OK cancel button.
Actually, you can't disable mouse echo for
Apply
NVDA.
button alt plus A. Categories colon. Review cursor 7 of 13. Input composition 8 of 13. Object presentation 9 of 13.
And this is the final thing. Tooltip. So tooltip is much easier to set up for NVDA. I was talking to this lady who used to teach the blind people in New Zealand, and she didn't know how to turn on tooltip for JAWS. Most amazing. But NVDA is very in your face, very direct. You just go to this object presentation thing. The first thing is your
object presentation property page. Report tooltips checkbox check alt plus T.
Again, it's off by default, and I always on it. Right?
Categories colon. Browse mode 10 of 13. Document formatting 11 of 13. Windows 10 OCR 12 of 13. Advanced 13 of 13.
Okay, so that's quickly going through all the NVDA stuff.
Desktop list. NVDA 4 of 31.
Okay. Okay. I think you need to change.
Rate boost on. Rate boost off.
Okay, that should be easier for you all.
Start window. Search window. Search box edit blank.
Okay, let's jump straight to Excel.
Level 1 Excel. App.
I'll probably go quite fast.
Excel. Home group.
However fast I usually go. So similar to Word, once you start Excel, you get this thing, choose blank workbook thing. If you press enter, you just select blank workbook because it's sitting on a blank workbook. But if you press escape, it will still go to blank workbook.
Sheet 1 table. A 1.
Once again, or maybe not once again. You will see like the top is black, but the row of all the Excel cells is white. So this is probably like the limitation to which you can use dark mode in Excel. But anyway, so arrow up and down and left and right. So this is just to show you there really isn't much difference, or there's not supposed to be much difference between using JAWS and NVDA. So I'm running NVDA enough for now.
B1.
So as you move through all the cells,
C1.
B1, C1,
D1.
D1. If you go down,
D2.
D2, D3,
D4.
back.
C4. B4.
Okay, so most basic navigation in Excel is just the arrow keys. And as you move to a different cell, it will tell you what's in the cell, right?
E4.
So now like I'm in E4. So the E represents the column and the number represents the row, starting from the top and most left. So if I press home,
A4.
it goes to the first column. But unfortunately, there's no go to the right most end of the row, because well, basically right end of the row is not existent. You can do Control Home.
A1.
You can do Control N. Control N basically jumps to the bottom right hand corner of the whole block of cells which have text input into it. Not very consistent sometimes, because if you don't have something at the very right hand corner, they'll pick something to the left or to the top of the most right hand corner. But yeah, I think honestly most useful is still Control Home, because sometimes if you're very far in the Excel sheet, you want to go back to the first cell, you press Control Home, right? So useful. Then yeah, you can just input whatever you want. So
T E.
dates.
V1. Edit T. I M E. C1.
Okay, so
Edit V. E N U E. D1.
So you notice I just type what I want and then just arrow to the next one, right? I'm using arrow keys once I'm done. You don't need to press enter, you don't need to do anything else. But having said that,
Date A1.
I just press home, so it jumps to the first left-handmost column. You can press enter
A2.
and enter.
A3. A4.
So enter actually goes down the column. And you can press tab.
B4, C4, D4.
And tab will go along the row. And shift tab goes backwards.
B4, A4.
And shift enter.
A3.
Goes up.
A2. Date A1.
But honestly, this is a bit gimmicky. Most people totally don't use it. And I do use it once in a while, but yeah. So this is not necessary knowledge, but it's fun once in a while, could be useful, no? Okay, so next thing, well, yeah, this is just running run through all the things in that file I gave you all. If you want to edit what's in the cell, you do F2.
Edit date.
So once you press F2,
E blank E T A D.
Right, so you do left and right.
E.
It will not move from cell to cell because now the cell itself is that space to move around in. So always remember my basic concept. Arrow keys move around within a fixed space. So once you press F2, your cell becomes a fixed space. Right? You can press escape to get rid of this.
Date A1.
To exit to exit editing the cell. Then again, once again.
Time B1.
Right, left.
Date venue C1.
Cells.
Date A.
Then you can use control left and right. So control left and right.
Venue C1.
Right, so you
Date
will see
A1.
it jumps. What I put in my document is based on what the commands are described on the web. Right, so they say move to end of data region, but in more plain languages, it will just continue moving until there's a break in the cell between filled in content and blank cells. Right, so if for example
venue C1, D1, E1, F1.
So now
E. H1. I4 H1.
So now there's a break, right, between the first bunch of cells and the second bunch one. So I do control F.
1 F1.
It stops at the end where there's a continuous flow of non-blank cells. Then it stops at this border with blank cell. Then if I do control F again,
venue C1.
It will jump past all the blank cells until it hits the next non-blank cell. And then once again, if I do control F again.
Date A1.
Okay, so this is how we can move quickly. So it's still a bit similar to the idea in Microsoft Word. If you do left and right is character, control left, control right is more than a character, so word. So in the case of cell navigation in Excel, it's left and right is just one cell. So control left, control right is many cells. But how the many cells are defined in this case is whether there's a break in the blank or non-blank cell thing, right? Highlighting.
A2.
Okay, let's
date A1.
So
A2.
Just for the sake of argument. Same thing.
Sheet 1. On sheet 15A15.
So once again, I can do up and down. I can do control up.
11A11.
Right, it will start at the break between blank and non-blank.
10. 11A11.
Do control up again.
6A7.
And then
date A1.
Okay, so there's a compromise here. So I find that you don't seem to be able to move to the very top of a column. So the very beginning of row you can, right? I just said I press home. But if you move to the very top of column, there might be screen reader specific commands, but not general commands. Right. So once again, up, down, left, right, control up, control down, control left, control right. These are commands you can use with any screen reader or without any screen reader at all, right? So usually I'll aim for something to be as universal as possible. Okay, maybe the flip side just that I never really learned the screen reader specific commands. But anyway, so there is this trade-off. So if you want to make it easier to move all the way to the top of the column, instead of just pressing up arrow, You can do control up a few times until it hits the top. You can also actually, of course, just type the coordinates of the first cell at the top. But I think, yeah, some people might still find that a bit uncomfortable to use. Yeah, I'll come back to that again.
1A2.
So this is navigation. So once again, control home, go to A1.
Date A1.
Okay, so
venue C1. 1F1.
So just like how Word, there's highlighting, right? So shift
F1 1 through G1, 2 3 selected row 1 column 6.
So shift right, you
Quick
highlight
analysis
cells.
available.
Shift right.
F1 1 through H1, 4 selected row 1.
Then you just
Toolbar.
select constantly in the direction. If you now do a shift down arrow, you will see that it highlights a block. So it becomes highlighting in 2 dimensions.
No selection. Tab control. Spark book 1 dash Excel. Sheet 1 E1. 1 F1, F2.
So let's try again.
F2 through I3, selected row 2
Alright,
through 3 column 6.
Try again. So shift right a few times, shift down. Or you can do shift down a few times and shift right. It doesn't matter, right? So it will highlight now a 2-dimensional surface area. So
1F1, 1F1.
Okay, so like I was saying, shift control right.
F1 1 through H1, 4 selected row 1 column 6. Quick analysis available.
Okay, get rid of the menu. Okay, so this is how you can highlight lah. So if you just shift right arrow, shift down arrow, it's just highlighting cell by cell. If you combine with the control key, then you just like highlight whatever it covers when it's moving in that command, based on that command. Okay, so next thing, right? Clear the cell. If you press delete, you just clear everything. Right, so that's for deleting.
F1.
Okay,
date A1.
Let's do that.
2A3. 6A7. A11A11. A11.
So
Toolbar.
deleting.
Pane. Tab control. Book 1 dash Excel. Sheet 1 table. A11. Quick analysis available.
Okay, so I'll quickly cut, copy, paste. So cut.
Cut.
Right, so you will notice that where was I?
A 10. 11A11. A 10. 11A11.
So I'm at A11 now. Right, so what you have here are from A11 to
15A15.
A15, right? So if I come here and paste
F13.
right, you will notice
F13 11 through F18 selected row.
So whatever
toolbar,
was at
pane,
A11
tab control. 11 F13.
Whatever was at A11 will be pasted onto F13, and then whatever was below that will be pasted below F13, and so on.
15
right,
F.
so this is the cut and paste behavior. Similarly for copy and paste behavior. So you want to take note of that. Then okay, what happens if you are editing within cell?
12 G14.
Okay, so
Q, I, C, space. A, Z, dog, G15. G13. The kick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
Okay, so
overflowing G14.
Again, highlighting the reading behavior. Whatever's in the cell, you read all at one shot. So if you're going to write 1,000 words in one cell, which is possible, they'll read the 1,000 word when you navigate to the cell. Right. So yeah, be careful what you write in the cell. Once again, F2 to edit the thing.
Edit the kick brown.
So when you press F2, that whole cell is basically like your whole Word document kind of thing. So from here, you do control home, you'll go to the beginning.
The kick brown fox jumps over the lazy.
So now it's next to that T in the
H, E, T.
So similar to how Word will behave, you can do word by word. So control right.
Kick.
So Q the ICK as well wrongly, right? So
space Q I C K.
Right. So now I alternate between control home, control right, then just left and right.
C I Q I.
So I was telling you, right? So whatever you hear is on your right. So I know a U is missing. So when I hear I know that this is where I should type my U. Right. So this one creates a lot of confusion with the students. So you want to be careful when you're teaching them this text processing skills.
U.
So once again,
quick brown fox.
right? So what about cut and paste, right?
Brown,
Okay, yeah, delete. Speaking of delete, so same thing, right? In Microsoft Word, delete.
R,
B will be deleted, but they say R.
B,
And now B is on my left, right? So if you press backspace,
B,
they'll tell you what to delete, and they delete to the left, right? So the thing that causes confusion once again.
B, brown,
Okay, highlights.
brown selected,
Right, I know, I told you, right? So control right is one word. So control right with shift arrow will highlight by one word. So cut.
cut, K, F, O.
Right, so brown is cut.
The quick fox jumps over, the quick dot, blank, space,
And paste.
paste.
Okay, so to show you, right, cut, copy, paste within a cell and cut, copy, paste when you're working at cell level. And if you press escape, it's going to go back to the kick brown fox, right, with the missing U. If you press enter at this point,
G15.
Right, so
the quick fox jumps over the lazy dog. Brown overflowing G14.
Okay, so if you press enter after you have edited a cell, they will basically behave as if it saved the changes to that cell. Right, but that's not the same as really saving. Now you see I do something like Control S, the save command. You want to save something from Excel, just like how you do Control S to save your Word document. Let me see. So in case you notice, it says something about overflow.
The quick fox jumps over the lazy dog. Brown overflowing G14.
Right, so the overflow just means that you type so much that it spills over the cell. To screen reader users, this is not an issue, but I guess you all will find this a bit irksome because it looks ugly. Yeah, but I think I'll come back to that later. So
G15, date A1.
Okay, so let's try other things. Control A.
A1 date through C7, selected row 1 through 7. Anvitarajaram has left the meeting alert. A1 date through toolbar,
so
pane.
C7. So it highlighted a block of cells from A1 to C7. Right, so that's Control A. So, but if you press Control A another time, it should highlight the whole worksheet. Did it? Okay, so sometimes what you want to do is highlight the whole worksheet. So you could do this, or if I'm not wrong, the other way is just arrows to some place that's very far away from the main block of cells and do a Control A. Right. Yeah. Hey.
Book 1, date A1.
Okay, so basics, navigating between cells, navigating within cells, copy paste. Okay. If you want to do something else.
Date A1, 1A2, 2A, 4A5.
Okay, so let me see.
5A6, 6A, a 104, 8, a 10, a 104, 856, 6A7,
A7.
A8.
Okay, let me do something here. If you look through what I send you in the Excel stuff, you have this interesting thing whereby you can fill in
B8, A8.
many things into a row of cells all in one go. So what I'm doing now.
A8 through F8, selected row. A8.
Let's put something here.
B3 A8.
Okay, so I will highlight a row of cells.
A8 3 through F8.
And now I will do Control R.
Quick analysis available. 3B8, 3A8, 3A, 3 times.
Okay, so everything in the highlighted thing gets filled in with 3. So Control R means fill right. So whatever is in that leftmost cell, you apply to everything to the right until the end of the highlighted region. Similarly, you have something filled down.
3D8, D9, 3D8.
So if I have to go from here.
D8 3 through
Control D is filled
D13.
down.
Quick analysis. 3D, D6, D6, D7, 3D, 3D13.
Right, so
3D8.
All the trees.
D7, 3D8.
But anyway, that's like a side note. Of course, you don't always want to fill everything in the same with the same content. Yeah, let's just quickly
D7, D6, D6.
You can fill in everything in the same information, even if it's not in a straight row. So
1, 3.
I just type something in one cell and do Control Enter.
Sheet 1 table.
And everything in the highlighted.
13D, C6, 13, 13, 13, F5, 13, 13, 3F8.
Right, so anyway.
3A8.
Okay, so what I really want to show you now is what happens if you do cut and copy and paste. Yeah, different ways.
A8 3
So,
through
by the way, select entire row, select entire column. Keyboard commands, right? So if you look through the list of keyboard commands and give you the shift space, which will highlight entire row, and this control space, which will highlight entire columns. I highlighted the whole row, so I'm going to do cut.
Cut. 6A7, 5, 4A5, 4A5, B5, C5, 4A5.
So I can paste using Control V, and you will notice
a 5, 3A, 3A5, 5A, 3A5.
Okay, whatever was in this cell, which is 4, gets overwritten by whatever I pasted. And similarly, whatever I pasted, right, the top left cell of what I selected will get pasted into the beginning point where I first press my paste command, and everything else will follow in the same alignment. Right? So if you still want to keep something from here, you can't just paste like that. Okay, so I can undo, so similar to Word. So Control Z.
3A, 4A5.
Okay, so 4. So let's say I want to keep the 4 and everything else on this row. What happens is you can do this, right? So Shift F10 or the application key.
Cut, remove the selection and put it. Copy, paste
Then
option, paste smart look, insert cut cells.
Insert cut cells.
Sheet 1 table.
If you did a copy, then they'll say insert copy cells. So
3A, 3A, 4A6.
So now you see your 4 and whatever are here.
3A5. 3 times.
Okay, so this is the case of where you paste the entire row. Okay, another thing to note, when you paste a row, you must paste it at the
3A5
beginning of that row. If you were to come somewhere like
3D5,
undo that again.
4A5, C5.
If I were to come here, this is not the first column, and I try to paste.
Microsoft Excel dialog, the selection isn't valid. Make sure the copy and paste areas.
Okay, so they say they don't allow you to do it. Right? Because you're pasting an entire row, but you're pasting it at a point where there's not enough space to put the entire row, right? Because the first few cells on the left is not being pasted over. Right? So
Book 1-Excel, B5.
Let me
B4, 3A4, 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 4A5.
Right, so insert cut cell,
paste, smart, insert, delete, insert, sheet 1 table, a 5 3 through XFD5.
Now what happens if you do
3A,
not entire row, just a few cells?
3A, a 5 3 through B, a 5 3 through C5 3, a 5 3 through D5, copy.
Okay, so if you do this, so basically I copied a few cells.
4A6, 5A7.
You will still override if you
5A7.
just do a paste straight away.
A 7, 4A, 3A7, 6, 3A7.
So I undo.
A 4A6, 6A8, 5A7, 4A, 5A.
So let's say I want to paste it here and just shift the things from the 5 and so on below. Once again, application key or Shift F10.
Cut, paste, paste special, smart look, insert copied cells.
So, you know, just now I copied, so now it's insert copy cell. So
insert dialog, insert.
So now there's a difference because you're not pasting the entire row. So what happens is, I think you all may not realize, right? So you can paste something so that you can shift things out of the way. Basically, that's what happened, right? But when you shift things out of the way, you can actually shift things down or you can shift things right. So they want to ask you, do you want to shift things down or shift things right?
Shift cells down radio button, shift cells right radio button, shift cells down radio, shift cells right radio button checked. Shift cells down radio button checked, Alt plus D2 of 2.
Yeah. So yeah, just to highlight again, you know, you might notice Alt D or
Shift cells right radio button checked, Alt plus I1 of 2.
Oh, Alt I. Okay. So But yeah, there's only two options. There's really no need to remember Alt D, Alt I, right? So just arrow to the one you
Shift
want.
cells down rate. OK, book 1 dash Excel.
So now you see
3A7, 5A, 3, 13G7, 13F7, 13 times 10 to the power of 7th.
Oh, I didn't know I typed that in.
3D7.
Okay, so
3A6.
that's pasting. Okay, what happens if I insert a blank row?
6A9, 5.
So this is again like going back to the useful keyboard sequences thing again. So there's a command sequence.
3A7.
Because you want to insert row, right? So Alt I
Ribbon
R.
Sheet 1, a 7, 3A8, a 7, 4A, a.
If it's blank, they just say the coordinates, so A7, and don't know why they had to pronounce A7. Okay, so similarly, if you want to insert column, it's Alt I C per column. So as compared to if you're using the new layout, it will not be as simple as Alt I C, Alt I. Is I think Alt H something. Desmond might remember. So if so if you amazingly can't remember Alt I C, Alt I R, then you have to search and then highlight to your student, like I mentioned just now, right? For the word case, right? So
4A6, a 7.
Something.
there are also keyboard commands. So you can actually do Control Shift equals to insert something, and Control dash to delete something. My experience with Control dash is it sometimes doesn't behave well for me, so I prefer this application key method. Delete entire row, I will usually like highlight the whole row, then do an application key and choose delete, which is faster for me. But yeah, so just to highlight all, there are different ways of doing it. And that's why you unmute yourself. You want to talk say something?
Really?
Yeah, why you unmute yourself? You want to say something, is it? Okay, so that's the leads. So far, this is all working within one worksheet. Then if I jump to another worksheet. Okay, first of all, you need to add another worksheet. So once again, there's a keyboard command for that, which is Shift F11.
Sheet 2 table, a 1.
And you automatically go to the new sheet and
a 1. Sheet 1 table, a
and
7.
they always insert the sheet to the left of your current sheet. So sheet 2.
Sheet 2 table, a 1.
The command to jump between sheets is Control page up and Control page down. So this is will be different to if you compare to Microsoft Word, right? But in some sense, it's still not impossible to associate, right? Because you can think of each sheet as one page. So Control page up, Control page down, right? So help you to remember. Let me see. So I've done cell navigation, looking with rows and columns, deleting, inserting.
Anvitarajaram put in waiting room alert. Anvitarajaram has entered the waiting room for this meeting.
Okay.
Press F6.
Right, so co-host can help me. Let's see.
Anvitarajaram has left the waiting room for this meeting alert.
Yeah. So since we have this experience, just remark a little bit. So you know Zoom, right? So the screen readers are coded to work with Zoom. Zoom is one of those things which we really like or don't like, depending on how you look at it, because it gives you more things to do. So Zoom is very accessible with screen readers like JAWS and NVDA. So you just experience for yourself how accessible it is. So changes in statuses, people come into waiting room, people let in, people exit. The NVDA will automatically announce everything. I think it's actually supposed to be the case for JAWS as well, but I think JAWS is having a bit of trouble. I don't know if it's deliberate or just they're having some trouble making it work reliably. So even if you pop something in your chat, I think the software is supposed to automatically announce to me, which unfortunately sometimes isn't always what we want. So at least for now, JAWS doesn't seem to do that all the time. Somebody can pop a chat and see what NVDA does. Never mind. I think I don't want to take up too much time for that. Right, so let me see.
11:16 a.m.
Okay, I think I better wrap up for Excel, right? Okay, similarly, once again, go back to the old way of doing things. You have insert F11 to insert a worksheet, but you also have alternate I, W for insert worksheet, right? Isn't that amazingly simple? Insert worksheet, so Alt I, W. So once again, right, a bit of a pitching for remembering the old way of doing things. Then move things around. This one, again, I definitely cannot remember the new one. So shift worksheets around is edit, right? Because you're editing your worksheet, so Alt E for edit. Then you want to move worksheet, so M for move. So Alt E, M.
Ribbon tab, move or copy dialog, move select.
So once again, this is the old sequence, so you don't really see anything happen in the new display, but it still takes effect. So what happens is this move worksheet thing, you can move worksheets around within your Excel file. You can move things out to a new, to form a new Excel file altogether, or you can move it to join a new, an existing but different Excel file. So if I open two worksheet Excel files, right? So once say, Excel file 1, and then there are 2 worksheets inside. I can take sheet 2, and then if I have another file called Excel file 2, I can go and place it in Excel file 2, or I can take it out and just form its own Excel file, right? So it's like tabbing
Create
around.
a copy checkbox not checked. To book combo box, book 1,
Right, so
left paren, new book right
New book.
paren. Book left paren, new book right, book 1. Left paren, new book right, book 1.
So the benefit of doing this is if you already formatted a worksheet very nicely already, if you were to just, you might want to like keep the formatting and just change the content, then there's a reason to do this. You're basically moving worksheet, but that checkbox here.
Left paren, book 1. Left paren, new book right book 1.
Oh, wait, new book.
Left paren, to book create a copy checkbox
Okay,
not
this
checked
checkbox.
space, checked.
If you check this, it means that the old worksheet will still stay there, but there's a new worksheet which follows exactly the same thing, right? So
okay, but book 2 dash Excel.
So now you notice book 2. So book 1 and book 2 are 2 separate Excel sheets now, and
book 1 dash Excel.
Book 1 still has this thing there. Oh, okay, it's a blank worksheet, so you can't really see the difference. But you know, I guess
sheet 1 table, a 7.
Let's do that again. So
ribbon move to book combo box, book 2, left paren, new book right paren.
Right, so I shift tab to this part here. So arrow up and down to new worksheet.
To book combo box left, create a copy checkbox not checked, Alt plus C space,
right? So
checked. Okay. Book 3 dash Excel.
So yep.
Sheet 1
so
table,
this should
a
definitely
7.
tell you, right? So once again, you're out VZ and zoom. Not necessarily as meaningful as zooming in forward.
Date A1, time B1.
Adjust the column width, right? So this is always fun. Again, I use the O sequence. Alt O
ribbon tab C
W.
Column width.
Because Alt O is for format, C is for column, and W for width. So format column width. So then this dialog box comes in, and you can
column width edit, Alt plus C selected 8.43.
Then you can type how wide you want it.
1, 6.
Again, not super meaningful for blind people. But people who are partially sighted, normally you would basically click at that thing at the top and drag it, right? So clicking at that very thin line and dragging it is quite a pain for a lot of us low vision users. So this is one way out.
Book 3 dash Excel, sheet 1 table, time.
So it's just for this particular column. There is an auto fit thing. So auto fit is OCA, right? A for auto fit. So I sort of would just trust that you all guys know what auto fit is.
Date A1, D1.
Okay, so the rest I think you read through your document. If there's anything I didn't mention, you see how useful it is. Once again, if you don't use the old way of doing things, you can still explore by
Anvit Rajaram has left the meeting alert.
By going to the upper ribbon, choose your lower ribbon, tap through everything and here you want, and you announce the key sequence and you take note. Okay, so
dialogue.
Don't save or
Book 1 dash Excel.
F4.
Dialogue. Book 2 dash Excel. Dialogue.
And
desktop list. 11:21 a.m.
Okay. Yeah, I think I really will overrun seriously. So I give you all another 5 minutes break, and we'll see what we can cover in the remainder of this hour. Okay.
Meeting controls window. Mute. Audio, unmute. Currently muted. Alt plus a button. Eleven 25 M. Audio settings. Start video. Video setting. Security drop. Open participants panel. 13 participants. Alt plus U button. More options for chat button. New share left paren. Share option drop. Pause share left paren. Annotate button. Remote control button. Apps button. More drop down button. Dock to bottom button. Stop share left paren. Unmute. Currently muted. Alt plus a button. 11 26 M. Space.
All right, guys. I'm back. I guess I won't worry about whether you all are back. I'll just start with whoever's left of our time. Okay, so I guess I won't be doing PowerPoint. Did I mention I was going to do that? Anyway, yeah, there's only a very little bit that you can do with PowerPoint that is realistic to try and aim for. Yeah, I'll say that for in case y'all really need something, need to show you how to do it. So instead, I'll go to email. So to me, the important things for a learner of screen readers to pick up is, of course, basically how to work with a computer. Next, how to do some typing, create a document, text processing, basically. And then Excel is the other thing which is quite useful. Many work settings could involve, like, especially a lot of job opportunities are more along the lines of call center kind of thing, or working with data. So knowing how to use Excel is important. PowerPoint is used for presentations, but because PowerPoints tend to be visual, you can create a very basic PowerPoint, which is fine. So it's still worth covering, at least for that sake. Honestly, I think most people are practical. The visuals part is really more decoration. So if you really are more into the solid content, plain boring PowerPoint, which is usually what screen reader users can produce, will still be definitely very useful and more than enough to get the job done. Okay, so I would say PowerPoint is useful, right? But if you don't do presentations, then never mind that. Next thing, internet. We've done a bit of that already. So it's very open-ended, so usually not very realistic to do very structured training. So it's really a case-by-case basis kind of thing. So each student, whatever they want to search on the internet, you might do some hands-on with them. But if they don't, also no point going to the abstract details of how to navigate a web page. Okay, so what's left is email. Again, amazingly, a lot of people don't really want to use email, don't bother use email. But so, okay, so much for that if that's the case. But otherwise, really, email communication is one of the most basic thing you expect people to need to do with the computers. So I'll cover that now. There are many email programs, what are called email clients, which you can use. And the other thing is the web interface, right? So go to your browser, type in gmail.com and sign in and operate the web from there. So what I will do is I will focus on these two things now. So honestly, the two things that I use most often. So Microsoft Outlook, the email app. There is another email app called Thunderbird, which is free, right? Compared to Outlook, where it's still not free, right? But Thunderbird is free. It's a bit different, but some core ideas are the same as Outlook, right? So you can consider installing that. You can use Windows Mail. I haven't really used it. I think it works. I think the basic idea is supposed to be similar to Outlook, but I had one guy who never could figure out how to use Windows Mail. And I haven't really done enough of it to really be sure whether it's just him or there's really a difference. So I won't cover Windows Mail. Webmail, right? It is the one where you go to your web browser and sign in. Gmail is quite an established one. I have experience with Yahoo Mail, so I know Yahoo Mail works to some extent. Well, reasonably well actually for me, but I think there's some settings which I'm not that familiar with. Hotmail or Outlook.com, right? The web version of Outlook. They are supposed to work, but my own experience hasn't been fantastic. I think they're quite lagging, not very responsive to screen reader users, although in theory they're supposed to work. So you could, right, basically you have no choice. If the student uses those particular mail providers, then you're gonna start with them unless you want to configure to a mail client like Thunderbird, right? So if they don't have Outlook, it's Thunderbird. So just introduction, so I'll go straight to Outlook. Same thing, starting with all programs, the Windows key,
Start window. Outlook app.
Anything that starts with O will come out. In this case, Outlook is the first, so I just press enter. Don't need to type the full thing. Otherwise, you can just type until you hear Outlook and press enter.
Inbox-quickben@sf.org.sg-outlook. Connectivity to your server. Connected to : Microsoft Exchange, table view table.
So NVDA tends to be a lot more long-winded than JAWS, in my opinion. It reads a lot of very technical information which normally doesn't sink in. Never really has sunk in for me. But okay, so once again, I'll just focus on the more core tasks. So write email. So once you open Outlook, you're in your email mailbox already. So the configuration will just skip over. We'll assume you know how to do it. You don't need a screen reader. You don't need to run your screen reader to do that. Right? You just turn on the screen reader and do it however you will do it for yourself. Right? So most basic thing with mails is just up and down.
Group by from Joanne Chua. Unread from Postman at time. Unread from Postman at. Unread has attachment from Liao AIV. Unread from Apple Wong. Subject unread from Liao AIV. From Yvonne Chin. Subject contact details in SIF website dot. Group by
Right? So
group
arrow
by
through the thing, listen to
expanded
the title, what you want.
date yesterday grouping expanded row 3 column 1 through 12. Unread from Google. Subject security alert.
Right? So they tend to like to group things. I usually find this very irritating. I'll usually turn this off, but I guess I won't go into details of how to do that. So read email, press enter, open it.
Security alert for Cleel0312 @gmail.
So this is the email. It's an alert from Google on somebody who's using me as the backup email address.
Blank.
Okay, arrow through the thing.
Blank. Graphic. Blank. This is a copy of a security alert sent to link Cleel0312 @gmail.com out of link.
Right, so just like reading Microsoft Word document, mostly, NVDA has this irritating habit of reading lots of blanks when there are blank lines and spaces in web pages and in emails, which sort of follow the web page formatting nowadays.
Link quickbin@sif.org.sg.
So,
Blank. Graphic Google. Out of graphic.
I'm doing right arrow now.
Space SIGN.
Right, so I can use control down.
Graphic.
Which is a little bit faster in my opinion.
Link Cleel031.
When you're using NVDA, if you're using JAWS, I can just do up and down and it works quite well for me. Okay, I think another reason, right? So NVDA seems a bit slower than JAWS, honestly, to me. I understand from other people who know a little bit better that it's probably due to the synthesizer we're using, right? So I was saying just now, right? This voice is usually referred to as the narrator voice. Or people will even tell you erroneously, oh, so you are using narrator. Okay, so but anyways, beside the point. So SAPI voice, right? In general, SAPI voices tend to be a bit more laggy, not as responsive to keyboard commands. So that could be the point with why I find NVDA experience not as satisfying, responsive as JAWS. I think that is probably true. Because I've seen other people use Eloquence. So there's Eloquence which you can configure and install and use for NVDA. And their computer seems to run about as fast as JAWS. So probably that. But anyway, we don't have a legal way of getting Eloquence for NVDA. So we're stuck with using whatever is available to us.
Blank. We noticed a new sign dash into your Google account on it.
So this is just reading. So you don't want the email, just
inbox-quickbin@sif.
And of course, you can just delete as well. So now I'm back in the main list. Is you just press delete, you delete the email.
From Joanne Chua. Unread from Postman at time. Unread from.
And you just move to the next one.
Unread from Tan Xiao Hui. Unread from Yvonne Chi.
Okay, so I'll skip over to write email first. Control N, right? So N for new. Control N is like highlighted from last week's session. Control N is very useful. Lots of practically everywhere you have a control N for new something. So control N when you're writing email is for new
untitled dash message left.
And they put you up there in the tool box field, FIELD field, right? Where you can type the email address or the name of the person you want to send to.
Okay, Chong Kwek Bin.
And the software is supposed to read to you suggestions which pop up and you can supposedly go up and down.
Kentek-san. Chong Kwek Bin. quickbin@sif.org.sg. Chong Kwek Bin. Available semi.
And you notice they fill in a semicolon for you and you can just type the next one and so on. I've experienced in JAWS where the suggestions don't always get read out, and or else they very strangely will only get read out like 5 minutes later when you're somewhere else in the email already. So I think there's some compatibility issues. I've heard other people who apparently know better. They've also commented that yeah, JAWS has known certain compatibility issues with Outlook. Although overall, I feel it's probably still quite usable for me at least. There could be things like RAM. Maybe if you have a computer with a lot more RAM and running solid state, it will help. It's probably like some challenge to JAWS. They need to spend a lot of effort to extract the information, which at least on the surface right now, it seems NVIDIA doesn't have that challenge. Yeah, but anyway, so just take note that you could have issues now and then about how responsive your screen reader is when you're doing things on your computer.
CC edit blank.
So once again, basics, tab to jump to the next area.
BCC edit blank.
Okay, this is an interesting thing. Some people have need to create a BCC field. So keyboard shortcut to bring up or hide your BCC field. Alternate P.
Ribbon tabs tab B. Dialog. Send button Alt plus S. To button Alt plus T. CC button Alt. To edit Chong Quek. C subject.
And now you don't see the BCC field, right? Alternate P basically selects the options part of the upper ribbon here. And then B is because the BCC hide or show BCC field. B will select that field, right? So let's do Alt P and then B.
PB. CC edit. Subject edit Alt plus UPB. Ribbon tabs B. Dialog. BCC edit blank.
Okay, and we get back our BCC field. So the thing about this is, once you activate and show the BCC field, you always get the BCC field in subsequent emails, right?
Caps lock on. Caps lock off. Subject edit
Okay,
Alt
so
plus
tab
UP.
to subject, type subject.
T R O N demonstration of T L email message edit multi-line blank blank.
And you want to send is just alternate S. Or S, I think is because there's a send button here and the S is underlined, but I'm not 100% sure because I can't see. But the idea is there, right? So always the thing I keep mentioning, Alt plus and underline letter will select the option. You all would be in advantage to some extent regarding this because there are certain parts of Windows which there is something underlined, but strangely enough, the software doesn't read the underline letter up sometimes. Right? So if you can observe those things, you can highlight to your student and then they can use it. It can be really useful sometimes.
Inbox-quickbin@sfh.org.sg- unread from Tansy out, group by : expanded :
and you have my email coming in, you have the traditional sound effects. And yeah, actually I was supposed to announce that, but I sort of muted it by pressing Control.
Unread has attachment from Chong Quek Bin. Subject PB demonstration of Outlook email.
Oh, okay. So I didn't realize that the PB went into my subject field, whatever.
PB demonstration of Outlook email.
So how to reply email? Just press Ctrl R.
Recolon.
Open. Actually, you don't have to open the email. You can move through the list to the email you want. Of course, you will naturally open it to read it. But if you already know what's there and you just don't want to open it, maybe you read it earlier. You want to straight away reply, you can do Ctrl R when you're sitting on the mail. Right? So in this case, when you're replying, they don't put you in the recipient section. They put you straight into the space for writing your
communications. Blank. A-E-O. Hello.
So typing here is like typing in a Word document, right? Once again.
Subject edit Alt plus U recolon. PB demonstration.
Okay, so I jump to the subject view. I can also edit the subject view even though I'm replying.
R E colon space P B D E D.
Okay, so
recolon demonstration of Outlook email.
So what I did just now is I go left and right, find the wrong one, press delete. Right, so I'm telling you, right, the thing about delete versus backspace. Easier to use delete when you're editing text. Move to the text you don't want, press delete. So just get used to the fact that instead of telling you what it delete, it tells you what's after the delete. Okay, so there's a keyboard command. So I think I mentioned already. Insert up arrow for JAWS and for NVDA desktop layout, which is I think what I'm running. Let me test.
L
Yep. So
L.
insert up arrow for read the current line in NVDA. Desktop layout or laptop layout is caps lock L. Okay, so
Demonstration.
right. So next thing, how to insert attachment.
Desmond So has left the meeting alert.
Okay, so inserts, right? So there's an insert here. So again, alternate N.
Ribbon tabs tab control expanded. Insert tab selected.
I've done this all the time, so I'm pretty confident. So this is like also maybe inconsistency on my part. So I don't bother
Desmond
down
So has
arrow
joined
here.
the meeting alert.
I will just tap.
5. Insert grouping. Include grouping. Attach file. Collapsed Alt N AF.
Okay, so you hear Alt N AF. So in other words, you can press Alt then N then A then F, and they also jump to this option. Right, but because it's so near the top, so to me, I've always done alternate N then tap 2 times, or how many times until here insert, then press enter.
Attach file. List. Recent items grouping.
So you can remember Alt N AF. So this is not an old sequence, this is a new sequence, but it's not necessarily difficult to remember. Just a bit odd why it's extra key. So Alt N AF. So you know N for insert. So insert attach file or insert a file. That's how I remember it. So Alt N AF. Then you get this list of things, which is recently open item.
Left bracket, word useful keyboards. Browse this PC. Attach.
Of course, you
Browse
can
this
browse.
PC.
So you
Alt.
choose browse, there'll pop up dialog box and you can
Insert.
So this one you involve things like again your basic concepts you want to be reminded. Shift tab.
Item SAVH corporate slides 2021.pd.
So arrow through the space. But if this is not what you want, which is not
Tree view.
Shift tab to
Documents.
tree view.
Download. Music collapsed 1 of 1 level 2.
Down here in the tree view, you can use the first letter thing.
Level 0 quick access D. Level 1 desktop left
Keep pressing
paren
D to
D.
jump through on the document.
Downloads left D.
All the
Documents
things that
left
start with
paren.
D.
Pin.
Press enter, tap inside.
Items view. Required info for the company. GovTech Remote Design Research Resignation Letter. SAVH Staff Handbook left. SAVH Corporate Slides. Type colon. Required info for GovTech Remote Design Research Consent 2021.12.08 ckb.pdf 4 of 407. Recolon. BCC edit blank. CC to edit
usually I like to tap around just to make sure I got everything the way I like it. But it's optional.
Subject.
I guess it doesn't hurt to tell people to be cautious. So
subject
proof, sort of like proofreading your work before you send it. Yeah?
Attachments. GovTech Remote Design Research Consent 2021.12.
If you have many attachments, when I tap to this space, which shows all my attachments, I can arrow around. You can do things like your Shift F10 or application key.
NUI document. GovTech Remote Design. Context, open O.
Okay.
Upload, quick print, save as A, remove it, cut C.
Okay, cut, copy, paste, remove attachment, whatever, right? Okay.
Dialogue. GovTech Remote Design. Message edit.
So they can send at any point in time here. So S.
PB demonstration of Outlook email dash message left paren.
And the old email is still here. There's some settings you can play around to show whether it still keeps showing you your old email after you have replied to it.
Inbox dash.
So, escape to close it.
Unread from Zoom. Unread has attachment from Chong Kwek Bin. Subject recolon.
How to open the attachment?
Recolon.
So open attachment, there are 2 scenarios. Sometimes for some strange reason, the attachment doesn't show up in this section. So basically, you open out the email, if you shift tab from here.
Attachments. GovTech Remote Design Research Consent.
They will show you your attachments already. Right? Then you just arrow to the name of the file, you do application.
Context, preview, open O.
Actually, you can do this open or save.
Save all attachments.
Actually, you can also do alternate down arrow from here. So this one the software prompted me, so that's how I know it's alternate down arrow.
Context menu.
So same thing.
Preview, open, quick print.
So this one is Shift F10 or context menu or alternate down arrow, both works.
Recolon.
But sometimes for some strange reason, the attachment doesn't show up here.
Message doc.
So the other way of doing it is alternate F. So at the top left of this email window.
File list. Save as alt.
Arrow down.
Save attachments. Save attach.
Enter.
Save all attach.
they pop this little dialog box which shows you a list of attachments, even though it's just one attachment. Then you'll be sitting on the OK button.
Okay.
Right. So I just press the command to read my current line. So I say OK button, press enter.
Save attachment.
Then they pop up this dialog box to ask you where you want to save it. So it's like how I did just now with the choose file thing. Right? Shift tab around and choose your location.
Save as type :
and then press
combo
enter.
box Adobe
Right? So that's for saving attachments.
: dem.
Finally, there's another scenario where it doesn't show up in both these areas. Then that's tough luck. It tends to happen with picture files. I think there's some setting you could sort of set in Outlook to try and make sure that pictures don't automatically get shown in the email itself. So that if for whatever reason, even the blind user needs to work with that picture file, right? Then they can, if it's not shown inline in the email, then probably it will show up as an attachment. That's my theory. I never really try it out. So yeah, if you happen to be in that situation, you can try it out. But what I done myself to work around with that is I got my email account configured on my computer, I got it configured on my iPhone, and amazingly, the picture file, even though it doesn't show up on the computer, it shows up in my iPhone. And yeah, I'll open the email on my iPhone and then find the picture file, and then sort of export it out to Dropbox, which I have. Then I open my Dropbox on my computer to get the picture file. Quite a very strange, long-winded, indirect route, but that's what you had to do when, for some reason, some things don't behave in a logical manner, which does happen from time to time with technology. So
inbox -Quickbin 11:48M.
Okay, so just one more thing, I think. Okay, you know there's that thing on the left, right? The one which shows your folders. You do Shift F6.
GUI document window. Mail folders tree view. Level 2 inbox :
to get to that tree view. So I was telling you again last session. So normally it's arrows and tabs. Sometimes tabs don't work, then you can try F6. So nowadays the trend is getting more and more. Don't know why, that a lot of times you have to use the F6 to navigate around. So emails are like this, your web browsers are like this, right? So take note, F6 is getting more and more important as a navigation tool.
Level 3 accessible world :
Right? So you will need this
EMP
if you want to, like, for example, go to your drafts.
Newsletters, pay not selected. Level
you can type the first letter of the name of the folder.
D. Level 2 drafts :
right?
1.
You must press enter.
Table view table. Has attached.
This is quite annoying. It's a bit inconsistent sometimes. If you're using this for the first time, when you press enter, they'll go straight into that folder. But subsequently, if you want to go back to the tree view,
mail folders tree view, sent items not selected. Level 2.
You press enter.
Table view table.
Wait.
Has attachment to Chongquek.
Hey, okay, this works. JAWS it doesn't. So maybe it's a JAWS screen reader issue.
Has attachment to Chongquek. Has attachment.
Okay, so I guess that's a screen reader issue. Never really explored it properly. Okay, so in JAWS, I can press enter on the send, right? It's the second time, but I still have to press F6 to go into the send folder. So take note, this is what you might have experienced.
Mail folders tree view. Level 1 Quickbin ets of. Level 2 inbox : Level 3 accessible. Level 2.
What do you know? So this is still happening even with MBDA. So you see, I press enter on inbox. The right hand side probably has shown the inbox, but I need to press F6 to go back.
Table view table. Group by. Replied has attachment.
Okay, so you could use this. So for example, check for junk mail, check your drafts, check whether your email has been sent, empty your trash, things like that, or retrieve things from the trash. Okay, so
meeting controls window.
Yes, for Outlook. Finally, we'll do the web version. Let me see. I will
start
do
window.
Firefox instead.
Firefox.
Just to show you that actually the things can be a lot of overlap.
Mozilla Google document busy.
So
Google M-Mozilla file.
The theory is that the experience should be very similar, maybe not 100% the same, but very similar between all the browsers you have. Internet Explorer when it was still supported. Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Firefox, Mozilla Firefox, I should say, proper full name. So if you haven't seen this before, right, Mozilla Firefox is one of the alternative web browsers you can use to browse your net besides Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge. I'm not using the other two because I have some other Google account attached to those. So Firefox don't have. So this is where I can use my my personal one for the
Google set as default browser.
Okay, so because it's not my default browser, they had to always prompt
Not now button.
now.
Google document. Search landmark. Search combo.
So like the other browsers.
Navigation toolbar. Combo box collapsed. Search with Google or enter address edit.
So Alt D will go to the address bar and it will type
com. Collapsed. Google document busy. Search landmark. Gmail busy. Heading level 1 choose an account.
Okay, so if you have logged in before, you get this page. If not, you get a different page where you have to look for that link which says sign in, press enter, then they come here.
Link quickbin@gmail.com.
Okay,
link signed out. Link 10 Liping. Link janetvanliping@gmail.com. Link signed out. Link use another account.
Or of course, you can use another account.
Link signed out. Link quickbin.
So I'm only using up and down arrows at this
Link
point.
signed out. Link quickbin@gmail.com.
So I find the account I want, press enter.
Blank.
Oops,
Enter your
I have
password
another
edit protected blank. Meeting controls.
email.
Sorry, I think you're muted.
I think he said he has someone at the door.
What, really? Hey, okay.
But you never hear me.
I saw the LinkedIn. Then after that, wait, next thing I know, it's like,
No, he said he has someone at the door. You never hear the knock, knock, knock.
Meeting control.
Hello, can you hear me now? Hello.
Yeah,
Audio
can.
mute. Currently
Can.
unmuted.
Yeah, you all didn't hear me say there's somebody at all.
I heard, but they didn't hear.
Oops. Okay. I think I need to edit this video. Imagine putting this out, you get all this visitor come out. Okay, so back to
Gmail m-mod.
So
blank.
So when you select the account you want to sign in, the expected behavior is they automatically put you in the password field for you to type your password. And you know the fun thing I always show visitors is they never announce your password to you. Yeah, visitors to SVH.
Star.
Yeah.
Star.
Okay. Sign
Alert save login for google.com. Username. Browser. Inbox left. Clickable main landmark. Clickable.
Okay. So what happens is those who use Gmail, you know they have this interface. But for screen reader users, we don't usually use the standard, what is called a standard view. Instead, there is this option called basic HTML view, which my impression is normally invisible to sighted people. But if you're using a screen reader, it's basically at the very top of the page. So like I mentioned before, you do often use this control home.
Blank. Visited link skip blank. Blank.
Okay.
Visited link skip to content.
Wait.
Collapsed visited link using Gmail with screen readers.
Yep.
Blank.
So,
blank.
Going there.
Blank. Blank. Skip to content visited link.
Which is a bit annoying when you're trying to get into the basic HTML view. Let me check.
Clickable main landmark primary property page table with 50 rows and 9 columns. Row 1 column 2 unread. Lazada Singapore. Year-end party celebration never end. Row 2 unread.
So unless I'm
link.
already in the basic HTML view, can someone give me some
Inbox
idea?
left
Or
out of
you also
table.
don't know what's going on.
Skip to content visited link. Using Gmail with screen readers collapsed visited link. Banner landmark main menu button expanded.
Okay, this sounds like a standard view thing. Oh.
Gmail visited link. Search landmark. Advanced search off. Search mail button. Clickable support menu but clickable settings button. Google Apps button collapsed. Google account : Kwek Bin Chong left. Clickable compose button.
Okay, so let me go back
Search
and
mail.
see whether I can
Gmail
find
visited
this.
main menu button expanded. Using Gmail with screen. Skip to content visited link. Blank.
Okay, so
Clickable skip to
I don't know whether this is a Firefox issue.
blank. Clickable skip to content
My
visited
previous
link.
impression is there's usually a basic HTML view button
Using
at
Gmail.
the very top of the page for people who are using screen readers. So but we do have this option which alerts.
Collapsed visited link using Gmail with screen readers.
Right, using Gmail with screen readers. So yes, we are.
Expanded. Keyboard shortcuts visited link. Gmail left paren. Standard view right paren.
Okay.
Guide link. Banner landmark main menu button expanded.
Okay. Then I think it was a mistake to try and use Firefox.
Using
I think the
Gmail
way
with
it
skip to
behaves is probably
blank.
different from the
Using
others.
Gmail with screen readers expanded visited link.
But anyway, we'll see what I can do here. So at least the basic concept seems to be working. So when you're inside a Gmail, the interface, when you first sign in, you're at your inbox. So the way inbox is usually arranged, you have emails, and next to individual emails, there is a checkbox. So basically, when you're using the web browser version of the email accounts, you are basically navigating a web page. So for inbox of email accounts, the layout is relatively standardized, so hopefully easier to work with. I know at least for Gmail and Yahoo Mail, this is the layout. In the past, before Outlook went and did its revamp of its system, they also had chat boxes next to the emails. So when you had chat boxes next to your email, instead of the most basic but very long-winded way of starting from the top and arrow down all the way or tab all the way, you can use X. When you press X, it will jump to the next nearest checkbox on the page.
Main landmark primary property page clickable table with 50 rows and 9 columns. Row 1 column 2 unread. Lazada Singapore, year-end party celebration never ends.
Right, so like I mentioned before already, MVDA tends to be quite long-winded. Although the information is probably relevant, it tells you that you jump to the primary section of your inbox. Right? Y'all who use Gmail, you know, right? There's primary, there's whatever other stuff sections. So you jump to the chat box to the left of the first email here. If you keep pressing X, you jump to the second email, third email, and so on. Right? But if I want to read the first email at this first chat box, I can press tab.
Main landmark, primary property page, table. Lazada Singapore row 1 column 5.
Yep, so when you land on the title of the email, you can press enter to open it.
Year-end party celebration never ends. Partying face dash quick.
Right? Then
clickable list with 1 items Lazada Singapore nor ply at support.
So again, I should have mentioned previously, one of the most common navigation commands you'll use is H for headings. So I just press H and it jumps to this thing which announces what sounds like the sender of
From Brian to everyone : Hi everyone, sorry but I have to go.
All right, understand. Thanks for coming along. Good day to you. So down
8:02 a.m. left paren. 3 hours ago right paren. Brian has left the meeting button. Checkbox not checked not. 8:2 heading 8:2 a.m. left checkbox not button reply. Menu button collapsed sub menu clickable more.
Okay, again, this is actually a bit different from my experience with the other browsers, but fine. So basic navigation techniques has worked. H will jump to the beginning of the email in terms of it jumps to the sender of the email. Then you can just arrow down from there to read the rest of the email, which seems to be working relatively well.
Graphicalion.com did not encrypt this message to me. Menu button
So
sub
it
menu
reads all
show
the
details.
information about the email.
Link graphic Lazada. Link C subline ID. Link C sub link C.
However, I do want to highlight your attention in case you haven't realized this. Lazada's emails are actually not very friendly with screen readers. So you can open the email, but I probably don't think you get a lot of useful information from trying to read it.
Link C subline ID 1 equals link graphic yep. Link graphic Bose True Wireless Sport Earbuds.
Okay, they do describe product information, but if you want to do things like buy them.
Link graphic Nike
not sure.
Downshifter 10 running shoe. Link graphic 50 piece.
Okay, so anyway, if you want
menu button collapsed sub menu clickable more. Button reply.
So you have your reply.
Button. Checkbox not check.
Okay, probably because this Firefox is a hybrid between standard view and basic HTML view. Or maybe it's just that standard view has improved. Right? So if you were in a basic HTML view for the other browsers, there are reply all, forward options, and delete options, but these are all links. And you can navigate to them by using keyboard shortcuts. Gmail has designed it so that you can especially choose Alt R to jump to reply, Alt A to jump to reply all, and Alt F to jump to forward. Of course, having said that, they actually like for example, Alt F. Alt F is also the command to open the file menu in the browser. So sometimes you will end up like instead of choosing the forward link, you open the file menu. I personally haven't figured out how this can be resolved, but usually if I do find that the file menu comes up, I press escape and down arrow a few times, then I'll try Alt F again, and usually that works. Previously, my experience was when you press Alt F, Alt R, Alt A, it will jump to the link and just wait there. But nowadays, when I press the link, they will basically execute the link. So that is how you would reply. So you press Alt plus R. Okay, I don't think it worked here. Yeah.
Button. Checkbox not checked not 8:2. Button reply.
So long-winded way still works often.
Video content window.
So I go to reply, press enter, let's see what happens.
Blank. Year dash end part, button reply button.
Okay, so that didn't work. Let's try something else. Okay, there is a command called insert F7.
Elements list dialog.
You also have an insert F7 for JAWS. This shows all the links on this page. So if I know that there's a particular kind of link and I'm looking for it, I can call this up and then I can type the first letter of the name link.
Skip to contents. Inbox 7600.
So I'll go back to my inbox. I do a home or control home, you go to the top of the list, then press I, you jump to the next thing that starts with I, which in this case usually is inbox. Again, it's like you start from the top because if you're familiar with the layout, you have a reasonable level of confidence that you will get where you want to go. But if, like for example, there are 20 other links which start with I and you're somewhere in the middle of the email, you might end up pressing I a lot of times. So in this case, just one time.
Year dash end party celebration never ends. Partying face dash quickbin at gmail.com dash gmail m dash Mozilla Firefox. Inbox left paren.
Okay, so so this is different from the Outlook, the program, because for one of the many things is the folders are directly accessible. You don't need to press F6. At least for Gmail, and Yahoo Mail is probably the same, right? Then they are arranged in
side panel complementary landmark clickable separator unavailable. No next list. None selected. No next list. Visited link skip. Expanded visited link using Gmail with screen reader. Visited link keyboard shortcuts.
Okay. I might as well highlight that since I'm also a bit stuck here. So when I chose that using screen readers, I'm using Gmail screen readers, they gave this as a useful resource, which is keyboard shortcuts.
Link Gmail left paren. Visited link keyboard shortcuts.
Again, like last session, I will tell people I prefer to use Shift Enter instead of Enter to open this link, because then it leads me to still be able to access the previous page quite easily.
Keyboard shortcuts visited link.
So I
Table
think,
with 21 rows and 2 columns. Row 1 column 2 compose and chat. Row 2 out of table link open in a new window. Bar link close. Table with 21 rows and 2 columns. Row 1 column 1.
right, the long-winded MBTA.
Column 2 compose and chat. Row 2 column 1 shift plus ESC colon.
Shift plus escape if you want to go to chat.
Compose and chat. Column 2 focus main window. Row 3 column 1 ESC colon. Compose and chat. Column 2 advance to next chat or
Okay, so these are all chat commands, so you arrow down to
row 17
one.
column.
Actually, if I'm not wrong, you can do alternate control down arrow to move directly down table.
Row 18 control. Row 19.
Yeah, row 18, row 19.
Row 20 control plus alt plus dot colon. Edge of table. Control plus alt plus dot. Google Workspace side panel. Row 21 focus back to main window. Column 1 control plus alt plus colon.
Control plus alt plus something, so it's a punctuation there.
Plus alt plus space comma space.
Okay, so control plus alt plus comma. So like I was saying just now, the reading behavior is common
From
punctuations like
A022331XNG Ru EG, Dylan to everyone colon, hello I will need to go off first too.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. A022331XNG Ru EG, Dylan has left the meeting.
Okay, so like common punctuations like comma and full stop don't get announced, which is why you hear something like alt control and then silence, because it's actually alt control comma.
Google Workspace side panel compose and chat column 2 focus back to main window. Edge of table.
Okay,
Focus.
so this means you're at the end of the table.
Clickable visited link Gmail left paren, standard view right paren, banner landmark button expanded main menu. Visited link Gmail. Search landmark clickable search mail edit sub menu. Button advanced search option button clickable menu button collapsed sub menu clickable.
Okay, so I guess I can
12:08 p.m.
I don't have to continue agonizing over this. The basic idea is easier and somewhat not easier than the Outlook, because whatever you want to find here, you can find here directly on the web page, because it's a web page. So you can either do a B for buttons to find the buttons, or you can do insert S7 and then run through a list of links and see whether one of them says reply all, attach file. Attach file, I think, is a button. Then when you select that button, as I suppose no need to say further. You should go to the next screen and show you what's on the next screen. And you just like play by ear and browse the page and find a thing. As you like get used to the pattern of behavior, like how I was telling you, you know that chat boxes will always go directly to chat boxes, and then chat boxes is the fastest way to get to the emails. Right, then you'll remember that certain sequences get faster to where you want to go. So I guess that's the idea. I will let you all play around with the Gmail and see if any of you have any questions, and you can get back to me. Okay, so yeah, mindful that we've quite overrun already, and I guess given my peculiarities, if I'm not running Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge, which are actually ironically my more confident browsers with Gmail, then there's not much point trying to flounder around in Firefox. So I will call it a day today as well. So if you all have any questions, you could let your ESCO know. And yeah, we'll see where you go from there. Hopefully you've found this helpful enough that you can then start teaching your visually impaired students, right? So good luck, and yeah, you can still come back to me if you want to ask any questions.
Thank you so much. I think we learned a lot over the past 2 sessions. So then I think also on this platform, I just want to thank you for taking like 6 hours in total just to teach us JAWS. And anyone got anything to say?
Okay, no problem. Yeah, it has turned out to be useful to me as well. So Admittedly, I had to say that today didn't turn out so well, so I probably might not put this out on YouTube. But that last week's one I think is good enough to go on YouTube. So, which is actually beneficial. My target is to get more people to know how to do these things and even teach them to others. So yeah, it's not that I haven't benefited either. Okay, so yep. Good luck to you all.
Thank you.
Okay, and yeah, see you all.
See you soon again.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
just get in touch with me again if you want to do anything else.
Okay.
Okay, yep.
Meeting controls.